Good morning, students. Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible and visible. Please confirm in the chat section that you are able to hear me and you are able to see the screen. Okay. Uh, okay, all okay? Okay, thank you so much. So today we are going to start with your chapter number 2, which is agronomy and field crop, right? So yesterday we discussed about what is agriculture, different branches of agriculture. And also we have discussed it brief what we understand by this particular branch of agriculture, which is agronomy, right? So today we are discussing about agronomy as a branch of agriculture first. Then, as we have already discussed yesterday, agronomy is that branch of agriculture where we are dealing with field crops and its management. So today we are going to understand what are the different types of field crops and how these field crops can be studied in better way. So we will be understanding the classification of field crops in this particular class. Okay. So that is the agenda of this particular class. I hope before moving ahead, I hope you all have revised whatever we have discussed yesterday. Okay. So let's start with this particular chapter now. And those who have joined through YouTube, they can also ask me questions. Okay. So you guys can also ask me questions again to tell you guys that this is the demo class that has been provided for free on YouTube. From tomorrow onward, there will be no classes provided on YouTube. Okay? Chalo, that's all. Let's move with this particular chapter, and I hope everything is fine. So, students, yes, coming to the introduction, what is this agronomy basically? Agronomy, I have told you, field management, right? And if we see this particular word has been derived from a Greek word which has the similar meaning. Okay, agros means field and nomos means management. So when we in particular study about field management, okay, with respect to crop production, it's not just simply field management, but why we are managing these fields? Because we need to grow crops, we want better production. Okay, तो सिंपल जो मीनिंग है एग्रोनॉमी वर्ड का दैट इज फील्ड मैनेजमेंट. ठीक है. एंड इफ वी टॉक अबाउट कि इसकी डेफिनेशन क्या है एज एन एग्रोनॉमी साइंस की डेफिनेशन क्या है. सो इट इज बेसिकली द ब्रांच ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर which is dealing with the principles and practices of crop production and field management. ठीक है. अब इसको थोड़ा अच्छे से समझ लेते हैं. What do we understand by principle and practices of crop production first? We have discussed yesterday it is a branch of agriculture, right? I think this is clear to all. Now we'll understand the meaning of principle and practices of crop production. ठीक है. इसका क्या मतलब होता है? So basically students, in agriculture ऐसा तो नहीं है you have only few crops, right? It's just not rice and wheat that you're growing, right? There are various crops that you are growing in agriculture now. And if you see, the growing practice of each crop vary. Okay, in rice you might need more amount of water, right, in compared to the wheat. You will grow rice during summer season, you will grow with wheat during winter season, right? In rice, the harvesting stage will be different. In wheat again, the harvesting season will be different. Okay, then in rice you might have to do more of you might have to give more urea, more fertilizer, more pesticide. In wheat you might have to do more of weeding, like removal of extra plants and all. So you can see that the cultivation practices of rice differ from the cultivation practices of wheat, right? In agronomy, we learn about these cultivation practice of each crop. ठीक है. In agronomy, we learn about cultivation practices of each crop. So whether we are dealing with the rice, whether we are dealing with the wheat or cotton, groundnut, soybean, bajra, sorghum, any crop that comes as a that is as a field crop, the principle and practices of each crop is studied under this branch of agriculture, which is agronomy, right? Next thing, it says key. it deals with principle and practices of crop production and field management. ठीक है? Again, now students देखो, where you are going to sow this seed, where your crops are standing, obviously on the field, right? So fields need to be managed. Like you need to prepare the field, okay, in order to have good germination, in order to have good production, in order to have good crop stand, यू नीड टू मैनेज द फील्ड. ठीक है, आप क्या करोगे, आप पहले फील्ड को मैनेज करोगे, राइट? आप फील्ड की प्लोइंग करोगे, फील्ड की सफाई करोगे, राइट? यू विल इंश्योर कि जो फील्ड है वहां पे कोई डिजीज ना हो, इंसेक्ट्स ना हो, पेस्ट ना हो, जो आपकी क्रॉप को नुकसान पहुंचा सकती है, राइट? तो व्हाट यू विल डू, यू विल फर्स्ट मैनेज द फील्ड and then you will grow the crop over that field, right? So yes, principle and practices of growing crops along with the field management, all these is studied under as a package in your agronomy. Clear? I hope now definition of agronomy is clear. इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है समझने में कि अब एग्रोनॉमी का मतलब क्या है. ठीक है, तो हम क्या पढ़ते हैं एग्रोनॉमी में? आई होप इट इज क्लियर, राइट? Now student, in this particular chapter and for your NABARD examination point of view, we will not go for प्रिंसिपल एंड प्रैक्टिसेस ऑफ ईच क्रॉप. ठीक है, तो हम राइस को अलग से नहीं पढ़ेंगे, वीट को अलग से नहीं पढ़ेंगे, बिकॉज इतनी डिटेल में आपके क्वेश्चंस नहीं पूछे जाते हैं एग्जाम में, राइट? रादर वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट फील्ड मैनेजमेंट एस्पेक्ट which is important for your exam, and classification of field crops again important, and you will see in your syllabus एक पूरी लाइन दी गई है एग्रोनॉमी एंड फील्ड क्रॉप्स. तो आपको ये समझना जरूरी है कि व्हाट इज agronomy and what are the different types of field crops, right? So yeah, this is all what we are going to cover in this particular chapter. So once again, okay, this is the question for you. Yesterday we discussed who is, you have to tell me who is known as father of agronomy. Okay, quickly give me answers in the chat section. Yesterday only we have discussed this. You have to tell me uh, who is known as father of agronomy. Anybody? Very good. Uh, Very good, Simran. It's Beetroot recrescency, right? So, yes, father of agronomy is Beetroot recrescency. Very good, right? So you have to know the name of Beetroot recrescency because question have been asked from here. ठीक है? चलो. Now let's move ahead. Now students, we are discussing so much, like we are discussing about ki we need to know the principle and practices of crop production, we need to know the classification of crops. So first thing we have to understand कि crop बोला किसको जाता है, right? What is crop actually? So basically students, when we grow plant of similar kind either for the commercial purpose और फॉर द सबसिस्टेंस पर्पस. ठीक है, जब आप एक ही तरीके के प्लांट को ग्रो करते हो ओवर एन एरिया, या तो आप कमर्शियल पर्पस के लिए ग्रो करते हो, दैट इज टू सेल इन द मार्केट, या आप सबसिस्टेंस पर्पस के लिए ग्रो करते हो, दैट इज फॉर योर ओन कंजप्शन. उस उस पर्टिकुलर एरिया में जो आपने प्लांट्स ग्रो किए हैं उसको बोलेंगे क्रॉप. ठीक है, आई होप इट्स अंडरस्टूड कि व्हेन यू ग्रो प्लांट्स ऑफ सेम टाइप, ठीक है, over a piece of land, you are growing, you can grow it for the commercial or the subsistence purpose. ठीक है, to repeat, commercial purpose students is basically to sell these crop into the market, right? To earn money. And subsistence purpose is basically when you're growing crop for the consumption of your for the consumption purpose, or for your family, for supporting your family, or to fulfill the demand of your family. That is the subsistence purpose. ठीक है, तो इन तरीके इस एरिया में जितने भी प्लांट्स ग्रो करेंगे विच आर मोस्टली ऑफ सिमिलर काइंड, उनको हम क्रॉप बोलेंगे. ठीक है, आई होप व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ क्रॉप ये भी क्लियर है, राइट? नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, लेट्स मूव अहेड एंड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ field crops. ठीक है, because in your examination it is very important to understand different types of field crops and what are the classification of field crop. So let's move ahead to that. Now students, first classification that we are discussing here is based on the area. Okay, based on area in which you are growing that crop. So कितने एरिया में आप क्रॉप को ग्रो कर रहे हो, उस बेसिस पे we have this classification. So we have here first garden crop. Now you might have observed that you are also growing some crop in your kitchen garden, right? So it's like, it's not just like you have just grown, you have just sown the seed of one plant, ठीक है? ऐसा तो नहीं कि आप जब सब्जी ग्रो करते हो, लाइक फॉर से अगर आपको अनियन ग्रो करना है तो आपने एक ही पौधा अनियन का लगाया है, यू विल ग्रो अ ग्रुप ऑफ यू विल ग्रो अ गुड नंबर ऑफ प्लांट्स, राइट, कि आपको अनियन मिल जाए। सो गार्डन क्रॉप बेसिकली क्या है स्टूडेंट्स? द थिंग इज कि जो ये क्लासिफिकेशन हम पढ़ रहे हैं अभी के लिए, ये है कि कितना स्केल है प्रोडक्शन का उस पर्टिकुलर क्रॉप के लिए, मतलब कितने एरिया में हम उसको ग्रो कर रहे हैं। अगर क्रॉप, इफ क्रॉप आर ग्रोन इन स्मॉल एरिया, ठीक है, अगर हम बहुत छोटे से एरिया में क्रॉप को ग्रो करते हैं, दैट दीज क्रॉप आर नोन एज गार्डन क्रॉप्स, ठीक है। सो वेन एवर यू आर ग्रोइंग एनी क्रॉप इन योर किचन गार्डन और बैकयार्ड गार्डन, be it any vegetable, be it any fruits, or be it any kind of crop, ठीक है, so that will be called as garden crop। तो इसमें आता है किचन गार्डन, फ्लावर गार्डन, बैकयार्ड गार्डन, ऑल दीज आर एग्जांपल्स ऑफ गार्डन क्रॉप, ठीक है, जहाँ पे आप गार्डन क्रॉप ग्रो करते हो। नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, नेक्स्ट वी हैव इज फील्ड क्रॉप। नाउ यू माइट हैव सीन, अब देखो, आप गार्डन में राइस कभी ग्रो नहीं करोगे, राइट, यू विल नॉट ग्रो wheat in garden crop, ठीक है, you will not grow millets in garden crop, right? So we have a different set of crops which is known as field crop, जहाँ पे जो स्केल है, जो एरिया है, वो बढ़ जाता है, ठीक है। यू माइट हैव सीन hectares of, when a farmer have hectares of land, then that land is brought under cultivation, and there you will see the production of rice, production of wheat, production of several other field crops। तो उसको फील्ड क्रॉप कहा जाता है स्टूडेंट्स, जहाँ पे जो चीज आप फील्ड में ग्रो करते हो, ठीक है, और उसका जो स्केल होता है वो बड़ा होता है एज कंपेयर टू द गार्डन क्रॉप्स। क्लियर? अब एक और टाइप की क्रॉप आती है स्टूडेंट, जहाँ पे हम बहुत ही लार्ज एस्टेट्स को यूज करते हैं, ठीक है। यू माइट हैव सीन प्लांटेशन क्रॉप। तो अब कोकोनट हो गया, आपका कॉफी हो गया, देन योर टी, रबर, they cannot be again grown in field area, okay, they cannot be grown in the same area where we are growing field crop, because these crops require a large area, larger area than the field crop, right? So the crops that are grown on large estates are known as plantation crops, ठीक है। सो यहाँ पे वी नो टी गार्डन, कॉफी गार्डन, रबर गार्डन, और coconut plantation, all these rubber plantation, coconut plantation, all these comes under plantation crops। So you can see there is a different set of category based on the area, कि कितने एरिया में हम क्रॉप को ग्रो कर रहे हैं। We have garden crop for the small area, then we have field crop, and then we have a plantation crop, right? Now, in agronomy, as we have discussed the definition of agronomy, that we are studying about the field crop and its management. So our focus will be here. We will be now discussing further ahead about the what are the different types of field crops and what are the classification of field crops. ठीक है, तो आगे हम सिर्फ field crops को लेके चलेंगे, because agronomy में field crop और उसके management की बात होती है, right? Okay. So, is there any problem till now? Any question anybody want to ask regarding whatever we have discussed till now? Please. Yes, Harsha, what is your question? If there is any question, please let me know. You can type your question in the chat section. I'll answer that. Okay. Okay. No. Uh, See, the mango orchard, जो आम का बगान बोल रहे हो, that will not come under plantation crop, ठीक है। देखो, आपने देखा होगा कि जो प्लांटेशन क्रॉप्स हैं, उसका जो एरिया होता है वो आपके ऑर्चर्ड से भी बहुत ज्यादा होता है, ठीक है। तो मैंगो ऑर्चर्ड इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ योर प्लांटेशन क्रॉप। Mango orchard will be part of your field crop, and specifically when we talk about mango and these such crops, they are basically the horticulture crops, ठीक है. But yeah, we cannot say they are typically field crops, but they are basically horticulture crops, again not part of plantation crop. No. Regarding yesterday's class, you don't have to remember all the institution name. Any institution that is in the news or in the current affair, you can remember that. Okay. चलो, यहाँ तक now I think अब कोई problem नहीं है, कोई confusion नहीं है, we can move ahead, right? चलो. Now, students, as I have told you, we are going to understand about field crops by understanding the classification. Okay, so there are different bases on which these field crops are divided or classified. So there is a classification based on use of crop, plant, and their produce. Then we have a classification based on the season in which we are growing these crops. Then we have classification based on climate, classification based on ontogeny, that is the life cycle. Then classification based on mode of pollination that is happening in these crops, nutrition uptake. Then we have to understand scientific or botanical classification, डेप्थ एंड टाइप ऑफ रूट के बेसिस में क्लासिफिकेशन है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड फिक्सेशन कैसे होता है क्रॉप में उसके बेसिस पे क्लासिफिकेशन है, एंड देन देयर इज अ स्पेशल पर्पस क्लासिफिकेशन. ठीक है, बीज क्रॉप जो स्पेसिफिक पर्पस के लिए ग्रो की जाती है वो एक क्लासिफिकेशन है. वील अंडरस्टैंड दैट. ओके, लेट्स मूव अहेड टू द फर्स्ट क्लासिफिकेशन दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन यूज ऑफ द प्लांट एंड देयर प्रोडक्ट. ठीक है, तो इसके अंदर अगेन वी हैव डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स. वी हैव सीरियल क्रॉप्स, वील बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग इन डिटेल about these, but we have cereal crops, we have oilseed crops, then we have green manure crops, pulse crop, fiber crop, commercial crops, sugar crops and forage crop. ठीक है, now we will understand one by one कि ये क्या होती हैं और इसमें किस तरीके की crops आती है. ठीक है, first is our cereal crops. Now students, cereal term is used in our daily life also, right? कि cereals हम बोलते हैं कि consume cereals, right? So what are these cereals? Basically cereals होते हैं, these crops are basically belonging to the grass family. तो अब हुआ क्या, when people started doing agriculture, तो we have grasses growing, right? तो कुछ grasses में human observed that these grasses are growing some starchy grains that are edible, okay, that we can consume. So when we find out such grasses ki where some edible starchy grains are being produced that can be consumed by us, okay, so उन cereals को हमने cultivation में ला दिया, right? तो like rice जो है, rice एक grass family से आता है, but rice का जो plant है that can give us that starchy grain which we eat, that is a paddy. तो हमने इसको cultivation में ला दिया. ठीक है, we started cultivating this plant. So cereals are nothing, basically these are the cultivated grass grown for the edible starchy grain. तो इन जो ये जो grasses हैं इनमें कुछ edible starchy grains होते हैं जिसके वजह से हम इनको cultivate करते हैं. ठीक है, so all your crops like rice, wheat, oat, barley, these are part of cereal crops. ठीक है, चलो, आई होप सीरियल्स क्या है ये समझने में प्रॉब्लम नहीं होनी चाहिए. बेसिकली जो सीरियल क्रॉप्स है ये ग्रास फैमिली को बिलोंग करते हैं, बट इन ग्रासेस में कुछ स्टार्ची ग्रेन्स है वो प्रोड्यूस होते हैं जो इनके सीड्स होते हैं बेसिकली, राइट, दैट वी कंज्यूम. तो उस स्टार्ची ग्रेन्स के लिए हमने इनको कल्टिवेट किया है, राइट, तो उनको हम सीरियल क्रॉप्स बोलते हैं. These are basically staple food also, जैसे rice, wheat हो गया, these are the staple food, right? Maize is also a staple food. तो वो cereals के अंदर ही आते हैं. Now these cereals are also classified in two categories students based on likability. Like you might have seen कि millets भी cereals का part है. ठीक है, तो आपके जितने भी millets होते हैं, sorghum, bajra, pearl millet, right? All these things are also cereals, but based on likability, like कि कितना लोग पसंद करते हैं किसी सीरियल्स को खाना, तो उस बेस पे हमारे पास मेजर सीरियल्स है, माइनर सीरियल्स है. तो मेजर सीरियल्स में आपके जो सीरियल्स लाइक राइस, व्हीट, ओट, ये सब आते हैं, एंड माइनर सीरियल्स में आपके मिलेट्स आते हैं. ठीक है, तो जितने भी मिलेट्स हैं, कोडो मिलेट, फिंगर मिलेट, बार्नयार्ड मिलेट, ऑल दीज आर पार्ट ऑफ योर मिलेट्स। मिलेट्स में भी अगेन बेस्ड वी हैव मेजर मिलेट्स एंड माइनर मिलेट्स। ठीक है, मेजर मिलेट्स बेसिकली ह्यूमन कंजप्शन के लिए यूज होता है और ग्रो होता है, ये कल्टीवेट किया जाता है। और जो माइनर मिलेट्स है स्टूडेंट्स, वो मोस्टली फॉडर पर्पस, लाइफ स्टॉक के लिए, फॉडर पर्पस के लिए ग्रो किया जाता है। ठीक है, तो इस तरीके से क्लासिफिकेशन आपका सीरियल्स का। बट आपको जो समझना है यहाँ से कि सीरियल्स में कौन कौन से प्लांट्स आते हैं या कौन कौन सी क्रॉप्स आती हैं, राइट। तो आपके जितने भी राइस, व्हीट, ओट, मेज, जितने सारे जो सारे मिलेट्स जो हैं वो पार्ट हैं आपके सीरियल्स के। तो अगर आपके एग्जामिनेशन में आपसे पूछा जाए कि out of the following which is not a cereal or which is a cereal crop, you should be able to answer that, right? So I hope it's clear. ठीक है, cereals is clear. Okay. Okay, so those who are watching on YouTube, आपके कुछ queries मैं देख पा रही हूँ कमेंट सेक्शन में, बट वो अभी जो हम कंटेंट पढ़ रहे हैं उससे रिलेटेड नहीं है। सो गाइज आई विल बी आंसरिंग दोज क्वेरीज एट द एंड। ठीक है, तो ये जो एक्स्ट्रा क्वेरीज है ये सेशन एंड करने के बाद वील टेक इट। ठीक है, डोंट वरी, राइट नाउ प्लीज फोकस ऑन द क्लास। ओके, ये आई होप क्लियर है। लेट्स मूव अहेड टू द नेक्स्ट। नेक्स्ट, यस। ओके, नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्रॉप इज पल्स क्रॉप। ठीक है, नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, अपार्ट फ्रॉम सीरियल्स, आप क्या, आप चावल के साथ दाल खाते हो, राइट। तो सीरियल्स के साथ साथ आपकी पल्सेस भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। ठीक है, और पल्सेस आप देखोगे तो इट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ आवर डेली डाइट। ठीक है, तो डेली एवरीबडी ऑफ अस, स्पेशली इंडियंस, वी कंज्यूम दीज पल्सेस, राइट। See, millet is not a different group. Millets are also cereals. Okay, millets are also cereals. Clear? Now, students, coming to this pulses crop. Samrit, if it's clear, let me know. If still there is confusion, please tell me in detail confusion क्या है, so that I can answer you properly, right? चलो, पल्स क्रॉप की बात कर रहे थे। तो पल्स क्रॉप क्या है स्टूडेंट्स? सो बेसिकली पल्स आर दीज ग्रेन लेग्यूम्स। ठीक है, पल्सेस आर द ग्रीन लेग्यूम्स यूज्ड एज फूड। तो लेग्यूम्स क्या होती हैं स्टूडेंट्स? सो बेसिकली लेग्यूम्स वो प्लांट होते हैं that have the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen. So basically, this legume term has been derived from the Latin word leger, which means together. ठीक है, अब इसका क्या मतलब है? Let's understand that in detail कि from where this legume term is coming and why pulses are given name legumes and what is the speciality of pulses, right? So, for example, like we have this pulse crop, right? Like this is a pulse crop. Now, students, in the pulse crops, the speciality of these pulse crop is that these pulse crop root have some nodules। ठीक है, इन pulse crops के जो roots होती हैं इसमें nodules present होते हैं, and inside these nodule reside a bacteria known as rhizobium, right? Now this bacteria which is residing inside the nodule of pulse crop, that is there in the roots of pulse crop basically, it this rhizobium what it does, it फिक्स एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन। ठीक है, तो ये राइजोबियम बैक्टीरिया है स्टूडेंट्स, ये क्या करता है? एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन को फिक्स करता है इन द रूट्स ऑफ लेग्यूम क्रॉप। ठीक है, इससे क्या होता है? बेसिकली फायदा क्या है? नाइट्रोजन है, एक नाइट्रोजन जो है वो एक इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूट्रिएंट है दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड बाय द प्लांट। ठीक है, अब ये एक इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूट्रिएंट है स्टूडेंट्स, तो प्लांट को इसकी जरूरत है, राइट। तो प्लांट को ये एब्जॉर्ब करना पड़ता है यूजुअली फ्रॉम द सॉइल। बट अगर आपके पास एक कोई मैकेनिज्म है किसी प्लांट में जहां पे थ्रू अ बैक्टीरिया नाइट्रोजन ऑटोमेटिकली फिक्स हो रहा है, तो दैट इज एडवांटेज। ठीक है, ऑल्सो स्टूडेंट्स लेटर जब आप देखोगे कि इफ यू मीन्स ये जो पल्स क्रॉप है इसको आपने हार्वेस्ट कर लिया, ठीक है, लेटर ऑन क्या होगा कि इसकी जो रूट्स होंगी ये डिकम्पोज होगी सॉइल में, राइट। और सॉइल में भी नाइट्रोजन का कंटेंट बढ़ेगा, राइट। तो ये स्पेशलिटी होती है आपकी पल्स क्रॉप की। इनको इसीलिए लेग्यूम्स कहा जाता है क्योंकि दे कैन गैदर नाइट्रोजन इन देयर रूट्स। Okay, so that is the meaning of these pulse crop. Now students, you can see कि pulse crop can fix atmospheric nitrogen. They have this ability to fix nitrogen due to the presence of this bacteria in the root nodules. So they are very important part of agriculture. Why? Because see, crops like rice, wheat, ठीक है, जितने भी आपकी सीरियल्स क्रॉप्स होती हैं स्टूडेंट्स, दे आर दे बेसिकली एग्जॉस्टिव, ये एग्जॉस्टिव क्रॉप्स होती हैं। ये क्या करती हैं, ये फीड करती है हेविली ऑन सॉइल फॉर द न्यूट्रिएंट, ठीक है। तो आपने अगर राइस ग्रो किया तो राइस आपके सॉइल से सारा नाइट्रोजन एब्जॉर्ब कर लेगी, राइट, दे विल ड्रॉ नाइट्रोजन, आपको नाइट्रोजन देना पड़ेगा, यू विल हैव टू अप्लाई फर्टिलाइजर फॉर द नेक्स्ट क्रॉप, राइट, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बट अगेन टू रिलाई ऑन केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर मोर, इट इज नॉट एडवाइजेबल और एनवायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली नहीं है। सो व्हाट वी कैन डू रेस्ट, वी कैन ग्रो क्रॉप, ठीक है, राइस के बाद आप पल्स क्रॉप ग्रो कर सकते हो। अब ये पल्स क्रॉप क्या करेगी, जितना भी नाइट्रोजन एग्जॉस्ट हुआ था फ्रॉम राइस क्रॉप, पल्स क्रॉप विल रिप्लेस दैट नाइट्रोजन, ठीक है। तो ये जो क्रॉप रोटेशन है जो फॉलो किया जाता है कि लाइक आप मल्टीपल क्रॉप ग्रो करते हो फील्ड में, इसका इस क्रॉप रोटेशन का एक इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है ये पल्स क्रॉप्स। क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है, आई हैव टोल्ड यू, बिकॉज दे हेल्प इन रिस्टोरिंग द नाइट्रोजन इन द सॉइल एंड हेंस हेल्प इन इंक्रीजिंग द सॉइल फर्टिलिटी, ठीक है, और वी कैन से हेल्प इन मेंटेनिंग द सॉइल फर्टिलिटी। तो you can see these pulses are very important part of your of crop rotation and crop mixture that are practiced by farmers, ठीक है। आई होप इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। पल्सेस क्रॉप क्या है, सी स्टूडेंट्स, ऑल योर पल्सेस क्रॉप कैन फिक्स दिस एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन एक्सेप्ट राजमा, ठीक है। तो जो राजमा है उसमें ये एबिलिटी नहीं है, बट रेस्ट क्रॉप्स हैव दिस एबिलिटी टू फिक्स एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन, ठीक है। Now, if in the examination you are asked any question, कि which among the following crop can fix atmospheric nitrogen or can help in crop rotation or can improve the soil fertility in any way, if the question is asked in your examination, तो ऑप्शन में जो पल्सेस क्रॉप होंगी वो आंसर होगा, ठीक है। तो पल्स क्रॉप विल बी द आंसर, ठीक है। अगर आपको सीरियल्स, पल्सेस, ऑयल सीड, शुगर क्रॉप इस तरीके के ऑप्शन दिए हैं तो पल्स क्रॉप विल बी द आंसर। और अगर आपको कोई स्पेसिफिक पल्स का नाम दिया गया है, लाइक फॉर से बीन्स या फिर चिकपी, ठीक है, तो देन दैट विल बी द आंसर, ठीक है। सो आई होप इट्स क्लियर, इट्स क्लियर। तो इसमें आई थिंक कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है, ओके। let next crop that we have to study is oilseed crop, ठीक है। तो अब you might have also seen कि there are few crops that are grown for extraction of oil, ठीक है, जैसे कि मस्टर्ड होगी, तो मस्टर्ड के जो आप सीड है उससे आप क्या करते हो, ऑयल एक्सट्रैक्ट करते हो, दैट इज द मस्टर्ड ऑयल। सिमिलरली सनफ्लावर ऑयल वी हैव, सैफफ्लावर ऑयल वी हैव, सो वी हैव डिफरेंट डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ ऑयल सीड क्रॉप्स, ठीक है। So it's very simple to understand crops that are cultivated for the production of oil or for the extraction of oil are oilseed crops. Now students, oils can be of two different type. Okay, some oils we use for consumption purpose, but some oils we cannot use for consumption purpose. Rather, they are used for some external use or the medicinal use, right? So उसी basis पे oil seeds have been divided into two category. We have edible oil seed crops and non-edible oil seed crops. तो edible oil seeds में it is self explanatory कि the oil seed crops that can be consumed by us are edible oil seed crops, right? तो इसमें groundnut, peanut, soybean और sunflower are the example. नॉन ईडेबल में आपका करंज, महुआ, कैस्टर ऑयल, ओके, ये आपके एग्जाम्पल हो जाएंगे नॉन ईडेबल ऑयल सीड क्रॉप्स के। क्लियर? आई होप इसमें कोई ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन नहीं है। नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, वन मोर थिंग आई वांटेड टू टेल यू when you will read your summary sheet, okay, so wherever scientific name is given, please read those scientific names, क्योंकि we have been seeing that NABARD is asking one question, at least one question from scientific name, ठीक है। Now I do not recommend I do not recommend you to learn each and every scientific name, but yes, at least few important crops, like few important cereal crops, rice, wheat, barley, right? Then we have millets, few millets you can learn. Important means the common crops that you often hear, ठीक है, जो आपकी बहुत कॉमन क्रॉप है या फिर जो बहुत ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस की जाती है, एटलीस्ट उन क्रॉप्स का आपको साइंटिफिक नेम याद करना है, ठीक है। This one you are asking, Avijit? ओके, क्लियर। तो आपने जो इम्पोर्टेंट क्रॉप्स है या मोस्ट कॉमन क्रॉप्स है या फिर जो वाइडली ग्रोन क्रॉप होती है आपकी करंट अफेयर में भी जो रहती है, आपने एटलीस्ट उन क्रॉप्स का साइंटिफिक नेम याद करना है, ठीक है। राइट नाउ फोकस ऑन अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि ये क्रॉप्स होती क्या है। चलो, कमिंग टू द फाइबर क्रॉप्स। नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, देर आर फ्यू क्रॉप जहां से हमें फाइबर भी मिलता है, राइट। सो जैसे जूट क्रॉप हो गई या सॉरी जूट हो गया, कॉटन हो गया। इससे हमें क्या मिल रहा है? वी आर नॉट ग्रोइंग दिस क्रॉप फॉर कंजप्शन पर्पस और फॉर एनी अदर पर्पस। बेसिकली वी आर ग्रोइंग दिस क्रॉप फॉर द फाइबर पर्पस। तो हमें इससे क्या करना है? फाइबर को एक्सट्रैक्ट करना है, राइट। वी नीड टू एक्सट्रैक्ट फाइबर फ्रॉम दिस क्रॉप एंड देन दिस फाइबर कैन बी फर्दर यूज्ड फॉर मेकिंग clothes, ropes, right, and different other things. Clear? So such crops are called fiber crops. We have cotton and jute, which are example of your fiber crop. Clear? Now, students, one more question I have that do any one of you have problem with understanding Hindi? Please let me know because that accordingly I'll continue the class. ठीक है? एक अगर किसी को हिंदी समझने में प्रॉब्लम है, if anybody have, तो please let me know. ठीक है? Okay. So if there is a uh, problem in understanding in Hindi, so I'll be keeping class mostly in English. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay. ठीक है, श्योर श्योर, आई विल गो विद द इंग्लिश। क्लियर? आई होप फाइबर क्रॉप्स आर क्लियर, राइट? या श्योर श्योर हरिका। ठीक है, fiber crops are clear, right? So we have jute and cotton examples of fiber crop. Now see students, these fiber crop fiber basically can be can be extracted from the different part of a plant. ठीक है, so like when we are extracting fiber from the fruit part of a plant, that is called as fruit fiber. ठीक है, the example of this particular type of fiber is cotton. So you will see cotton ball is a fruit part of cotton plant, and from that cotton ball we are extracting this cotton fiber. ठीक है, तो it is the example of basically a fruit fiber. Next we have is the stem, stalk or bast fiber, it is called. So stem, when the stem of any plant is used for extracting the fiber, and that is the case of your jute. ठीक है, तो जूट में you extract the fiber from the stem part of a plant. Clear? So that's why it's known as stem, stalk or bast fiber. And one more type of fiber we have, students, that is known as leaf fiber or hard fiber. So sometimes in few crops, leaves of few crops can also be used to extract fiber, that is known as leaf or hard fiber. So you can see examples are given, but yes, Abhijit, the non-edible crops are used for the medicines purpose or the ointment purpose, right? So for the external use, not for the consumption. So I hope this is also clear. What is the classification of fiber crop? So when we are extracting fiber from the fruit part, that is known as fruit fiber. When any stem part of a plant is used for extracting fiber is known as stem, stalk or bast fiber. When leaf part of any plant is used for extracting fiber is the, ठीक है, known as leaf or hard fiber. I hope it's clear, easy to understand. Then we have a sugar crops. You might know that there are few crops used uh, for the production of sugar. So sugar cane and sugar beet are the example. So sugar cane से and sugar beet से we are extracting the sugar basically. ठीक है, so yeah, that is the uh, sugar crop. Next we have is a commercial crop. Now students, there is another group of crop which is known as commercial crop. See, every crop is not for the consumption purpose, right? So commercial crop are what? Basically, these are crops which are grown. First of all, they are grown on a very large scale. Okay, not like the plantation crop, but again, they are grown on a very large area compared to the other crops like your sugar cane, cotton. You will see these crops are not directly taken for the consumption purpose. Rather, they are taken to the mills or the industries for further processing. So sugarcane will be taken to the sugar mill, okay, for the processing and for the conversion of sugarcane into sugar, right? And the sugar will be the ultimate product that we are consuming. Then cotton will be taken to the cotton mill for the production of fiber. Similarly, tobacco. So such crops are commercial crops. Okay, they are not the basic crops or the crops used for the consumption purpose mostly. They are used for the commercial purpose. Basically, they are grown on a large scale, usually for the uh, for selling it into the industry for the further processing and getting the income. So such crops are known as commercial crops. Clear? Then we have forage crop. Now, students, till now we are discussing crops that are either for the consumption purpose for humans or for any other purpose for us. But crops are also grown for the livestock also. ठीक है तो हमारे पास we know in agriculture animal husbandry is also part, right? So animal husbandry में we are rearing livestock, right? And we need to feed this livestock. So in order to feed this livestock, again we need some forage crop. Forage क्या है basically? Forage crops are such crops which are grown specifically for feeding the livestock. ठीक है? So in case of forage crop, vegetative matter क्या है students? Basically the foliage part of a plant, right? All the leaves and stems, all this part of a plant is known as vegetative matter, and this vegetative matter is used for feeding the animals or livestock. ठीक है? So these are known as forage crop. ठीक है? It include fodder, hay, silage and pasture. Okay. Now here we have to understand one thing. First thing is that any crop can be grown as forage crop. ठीक है? Like maize is a field crop, but maize can also be grown as forage crop. ठीक है? Similarly, sorghum is a field crop, but it can also be grown as forage crop. So if you are growing maize, okay, if you are growing maize for the um, forage purpose, or we can say for feeding the livestock, so students, you will not, what you will do before before this maize crop get to a stage where it start flowering, okay, so you will not allow this maize crop to ripen. You will not wait कि maize crop पूरी mature हो जाएगी and then we will cut this maize crop to feed livestock, right? So before flowering, usually क्या होता है students, whatever crop is grown for the forage crop purpose, before flowering, okay, because before this crop come to the stage where it start flowering, we will cut down this crop for feeding the livestock. ठीक है? So basically, before flowering, the crop is cut down for feeding the livestock. So that crop will be known as forage crop. And one thing need to be very clear here, that any crop can be used as forage crop. Like if there is any field crop can be grown for the grain purpose as well as for the forage purpose. ठीक है? So maize is a classic example for that. कि maize can be grown for the corn that we are extracting from the maize plant, or it can be grown for the forage crop. But whenever we are growing any crop for the forage purpose, you have to learn this fact that we need to cut down that crop before flowering, okay, so that it is still succulent, the leaves are green, and it is easily digestible to the livestock. Okay, that's why we'll cut down before flowering and then we'll feed it to the livestock. Clear? Now these forage crop students are processed in different ways. Means they can be given to the livestock in different forms. So we have fodder. Fodder is what? Like you have cut down this particular crop and you have just immediately given to the livestock for feeding. Okay. Then it can be dried. Like what you can do, you have cut down the maize crop and you have allowed this crop to sun dry. Okay. So due to sun drying, what will happen? The water content of this crop will reduce, and the plant this water content will be reduced and you can store it for the future. So that will be known as hay when you are drying the forage crop and then storing it for the future use. Clear? Then another form of forage crop is silage. What is the silage, students? Silage is basically what you do. You chop this forage crop. ठीक है, आप इसको chop कर देते हो. You chop it in the small small pieces and then you allow this crop to ferment. ठीक है, fermentation process is allowed here. Again, after achieving a particular stage, then this crop is again stored for future. So why we are storing basically this crop for future? Because there will be some time throughout the year when the when the availability of water will be less. So for that time, we will store forage for the livestock. ठीक है. Then we have pasture. Pasture are nothing. Pastures are basically, students, the areas, okay, which are covered with the grasses. So again, these pasture crops are also part of your part of forage crops. Okay. Now, students, here is the detailed explanation of silage crop. I hope fodder, hay, silage में there is no confusion. ठीक है. Silage crop क्या है? Crops such as corn, legume, grasses that have been harvested at early maturity. I have told you before flowering, at early maturity we'll harvest it, then we'll finely chopped it, and then we'll pack tightly to exclude air and store it in some kind of silo pit. Silo pits and trenches are basically the storage structure, okay, where this silage crop is stored. And then we will be using this silage crop for feeding the animal during the lean period, or the period or the time when we do not have sufficient amount of forage crop. Okay. So examples of crops that can be used as silage crop is maize, cowpea, jowar, and sorghum. Okay. You can learn the example. They can ask you. So in examination or in general, if you read these terms like silage, hay, pasture, so they have different meaning, but ultimately everything is for the livestock. Clear? Yes, barsim is also a forage crop, right? Any confusion till now? See, Jessica, fodder, forage are the same things. Okay, fodder crop or the forage crops, they are same things. Acha, fermentation concept is not clear. Okay, so see, Avijit, there is a whole process behind making a silage. Okay, so but we don't have to go in detail into that process. Just understand, you have, you know, you have collected the forage crop before maturity. You have cut down the forage crop, then you have finally chopped it. Finally, like you can see the person is holding the silage crop. ठीक है. तो आप उसको फाइनली चॉप करोगे. चॉप करके आप उसे एक कंटेनर में डाल के यू विल अलाउ दैट क्रॉप टू फर्मेंट. ठीक है. आप क्या करोगे, देखो हमने हे में क्या किया था, वी हैव रिड्यूस द वाटर कंटेंट ताकि फर्मेंटेशन को रोक सके. बट साइलेज में हम वाटर कंटेंट को रिड्यूस नहीं करेंगे, हम उसे पैक करेंगे. और आप किसी चीज को पैक कर देते हो तो वो क्या फर्मेंट होने लगता है, राइट? तो यस, ये फर्मेंटेशन प्रोसेस को जानबूझ के किया जाता है इस पर्टिकुलर साइलेज क्रॉप में, सो दैट it can achieve to a certain pH or certain taste or certain texture, and then that it can be stored for future use. Okay. ओके, पास्चर क्या होता है? देखो तानिया, पास्चर इज बेसिकली अ वेरी पास्चर इज अ लैंड मास, ठीक है, विच इज कवर्ड विद द ग्रासेस. दैट्स इट. ठीक है. नाउ यू कैन गो टू दीज लैंड मास, कट डाउन द ग्रासेस एंड यू गिव those grasses to the livestock. or you can bring your livestock to this area and allow them to move freely and feed freely. ठीक है, pasture are just a land area covered with the grasses. Clear? I hope all these things are clear, right? चलो, next is, see, these all, while these all come under forage crop only, but yeah, these all comes under forest crop only, but they have different meaning, right? Based on the process that we are using for it, they have different meaning. Clear? चलो, let's move ahead, and yes, I'll take queries at the end. ठीक है, बीच में अगर आपको specific कोई doubt है, you can ask me. Otherwise, queries को last में लेंगे आप. ठीक है? We need to cover so much, and it's already 8:20. Okay. Chalo. Coming to the green manure crop, right? So students, what are the green manure crop? This is another group of crop. Basically, in case of green manure crop, I have already told you, right? Few crops, they have ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen. So like pulses, and pulses are incorporated in between the main crop so that fertility can be restored. Also, students, there are few crops, the foliage part of these, which, like crops like sunhemp and dheja, these crops have good nitrogen content in general. ठीक है, means their whole plant will have good amount of nitrogen, be it the leaf, stem, roots. Okay. So in the as the percentage of nitrogen is good in these crops, so what we can do, or what farmer can do, either we can go for growing the pulse crop, or what we can do, if you want to restore the soil fertility, also you want to add organic matter to the soil, so in that case, green manure crops can be grown. So again, we'll grow crops like sunhap and dhecha, and before flowering, we will cut down this crop. We will cut down this crop. We will cut down the entire foliage, and we will mix this foliage with soil. So as the foliage part also have nitrogen, the root part will also have nitrogen. So when this foliage part mixed with the soil, and with time it will decompose, right? And with decomposition, the nutrient will be released. ठीक है? What is decomposition, students? Basically, any organic matter, be it the plant tissue or animal tissue, when it is added to the soil, microorganism will act on it. Microorganism will feed on it, right? Now, during this process, some nutrients will be released. So as I've told you, these crops are rich in nitrogen. So while this crop tissue will be decomposing in the soil, so it will be releasing a lot of nitrogen and a lot of nutrient in the soil. Also, we have also added a good amount of organic matter into the soil, right? So in general, they help in increasing the soil productivity by increasing the nutrient content in the soil, as well as by increasing the organic matter in the soil. So these crops are called as green manure crops. ठीक है? So basically, crops that are used for incorporating the plant tissue into the soil and for improving the soil productivity. The example here is sunhemp and deja. So you have to learn the examples of green manure crops as well as the meaning of green manure crop. ठीक है? In your examination, they can ask you, okay, like which among the following crop is used to, in which of the following crop we are incorporating the plant tissue in the soil in order to increase the soil productivity. Then answer will be green manure crop. Clear? क्लियर? आई होप देयर इज नो कंफ्यूजन विद दिस. आपने कुछ नहीं करना है. यहाँ पे हम क्या करते हैं, क्रॉप को फील्ड में ग्रो करते हैं. बिफोर फ्लावरिंग, फ्लावरिंग होने से पहले ही क्रॉप को हम कट डाउन कर देते हैं, एंड वी इनकॉर्पोरेट ऑल दिस वेजिटेटिव पार्ट ऑफ क्रॉप इन सॉइल. और जब डिकम्पोजिशन होता है तो ऑर्गेनिक मैटर के साथ साथ न्यूट्रिएंट रिलीज होता है जो सॉइल की प्रोडक्टिविटी को बढ़ाता है. क्लियर? चलो. So this was the classification, first classification that we have discussed. Next classification is based on the ontogeny. Okay, that is the life cycle. Now, before understanding the classification based on this ontogeny, we have to understand ki what is the complete life cycle of a plant, right? Or a particular crop. So students, the life cycle begins with a seed. Okay, so first we have a seed. Then this seed is placed in soil, right, for germination. So the seed will germinate and it will start growing the root and shoot part, right? It will start growing root and shoot part, and we have, right? So here stems will grow, leaves will grow. So this is the seed. Then this part is called as vegetative phase. Okay, what is vegetative phase? Where plant is growing stems, leaves, okay? Also the roots are growing, spreading in the soil. After this vegetative phase is completed, then this plant will start producing flower. ठीक है, this plant will start producing flowers. इसके बाद क्या होगा कि plants में flowers बनेंगे, right? And inside these flowers, seeds are produced, right? Seeds are produced. But this stage where flowers are produced in the plant is known as reproductive stage, right? So first stage is seed, then vegetative stage, then reproductive stage, and then again from the reproductive stage in which flowers are produced. From these flowers, again seeds will be extracted, and this seed will be again sown to grow new plant. Clear? So this is the complete life cycle of a plant. Clear? So this is the complete life cycle, which is also known as ontogeny. Okay? Now, based on the time that a plant required to complete this life cycle, we have this classification. Okay? So if any crop can complete this entire life cycle within a year, okay, it can be within 6 months, within 3 months, within 2 months, within 9 months, within 10 months. So within a year, if any particular plant is able to complete this entire life cycle, these plants are known as annual crops. Okay, examples are your paddy, wheat, maize, mustard, and all your field crops majorly, right? Then we have biennial crops. So if any plant student require 2 years, like in the first year, it is completing the vegetative phase, and the next year is required for the reproductive stage. If more than 1 year or 2 year, we'll say if years are required, then that is known as biennial crops, right? Sugar beet is the example of biennial crop. Then we have perennial crops. If any plant need more than 2 years to complete the life cycle, is known as perennial crop. And here your perennial crops, especially the plantation crops are example. So students, you might have observed or you might have noticed that once the tea garden established, every year you are not uprooting the tea plant and then resowing it. So once it is established, that is established for years, right? So you are just plucking out the leaves year after year or season after season. Okay, it's not like you need a whole replantation, right? So such crops are perennial crops. So your tea, coffee, coconut, these are perennial crops. There is one more crop, students. Here it is mentioned Napier fodder grass. Okay, so basically this is a fodder crop which is grown for the livestock. Okay, so this particular crop is also a perennial crop. Means once you have established this crop in the field, you don't have to again replant it or resow it. Okay, that is the Napier fodder grass. Clear? Then coconut and other plantation crops are again part of your perennial crops, right? I hope this classification is clear, right? Coming to the scientific name, again, scientific name of important crops are important crops only you can learn. Okay, you can just learn scientific name of like rice, wheat, maize, here mustard, sugar beet, Napier fodder grass you can learn. Okay, but if there is any crop like which is not very common, so you can skip such scientific name. So जो common crops हैं उनका ही scientific name याद करो. That is what I suggest for you, right? चलो, I hope this is clear. Based on ontogeny, what is the classification? Now coming to the botanical classification. Now students, see, the entire plant kingdom is divided into different groups. So we have gymnosperm, angiosperm, we have ferns, pteridophytes, bryophytes, right? So there is a whole classification. Okay? Those who have studied botany might know this, might have an idea about this, but those who are not from the biology background or have not studied all about this. So for them, just wanted to give you a brief idea that जैसे कि like your animal kingdom is divided into different groups. Similarly, plant kingdom is divided into different groups. So we have bryophyte, iridophyte, ferns, ठीक है, gymnosperm and angiosperm. Now, this classification is done again based on the morphology of different plants, but ultimately your mostly crops are basically from the angiosperm groups. Okay, so we don't have to know what is this classification, what is the whole background. Just here understand कि there is a classification under plant kingdom which is known as angiosperms, and mostly your crops are of angiosperm category. ठीक है, तो आपने एक चीज ये याद रखनी है कि mostly your crop plants belong to the angiosperm group. And here, what is the classification? Basically, it's very easy. So students, you might have observed seed of any plant. ठीक है? Like you might have seen seed of maize. Here it is. This is the seed of maize. All right. And then there is a seed of, this is a nut basically. But for example, I'll give you the example of chickpea. ठीक है? Because chickpea is found in everybody's, you might have chickpea in your home, so you can today also observe it. So take a seed of chickpea and take a seed of maize, if not maize or any other crop like uh, rice or wheat, ठीक है, if you have. Otherwise, if you have like sweet corn or anything like such anything in your home, so you can observe it. ठीक है, take a seed of maize and take a seed of chickpea. Now do one thing. Try to split open these two seeds. ठीक है, try to split the seeds into two part. So you will see maize. In maize seed, you will be not able to divide the seed into two equal half because it will not split open, right? It will not get divided into two equal halves. But in chickpea seeds, when you will try to divide, that seed will get divided into two equal halves. ठीक है? So why this is happening? Why this difference occur? Basically, students, due to the cotyledons. Cotyledons are, what we can say. So it is a seed. Basically, cotyledons are uh, you can say see, we don't have to go in detail, but जब हम seed का structure देखते हैं students, ठीक है, तो when we see the structure of seeds, तो cotyledons are basically the you can say the baby leaves that are present inside the seed, but again that will be very technical for you to understand. Here just understand, just learn this thing. If you are able to divide a seed into two equal part, that seed will be called as dicotyledon. That crop will be known as dicotyledon crop, right? If any seed is not divided into two equal part, that is known as monocotyledon. ठीक है, simple as that. कि if any seed is divided into two equal half, then that is known as monocotyledon, and sorry, dicotyledon. If we are not able to divide seed into two equal half, known as monocotyledon. ठीक है, monocotyledon का example I have told you, rice, wheat, maize, all these are example of monocotyledon. And mostly your pulses, you might have seen ki pulses mein, like your beans also, chickpea also, grams also, you can divide the seed into two equal half. They belong to the dicotyledon family. ठीक है, that is the thing that you need to remember. Okay, and we here don't no need to go into technical details कि cotyledon क्या है, कैसे होते हैं, because again नहीं पूछे जाते हैं आपके एग्जामिनेशन, नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर योर एग्जाम, राइट? इतना डिटेल में दे डू नॉट आस्क. Okay, so let's see a brief difference about monocot and dicot crop or dicot plant. होता क्या है students? So basically in monocot, the vascular bundle. Okay, again, those who are not from the biology or the agriculture background, again, this is not very important. Okay, this is not important for your exam. Just to give an idea, how do we differentiate between a monocot plant or dicot plant? That is the bit. ठीक है, so vascular bundle क्या है students? Inside the plant there are two type of tissue. One we have is xylem and then we have phloem. ठीक है, and these tissues are known as vascular bundle. Okay, just understand this. So in case of monocotyledon, these xylem and phloem are not arranged in any definite pattern. They are just scattered throughout the stem. ठीक है, so you can identify through this also कि okay, if any plant have the scattered vascular bundle, that will be a monocot plant. If they are arranged in definite row, then that is your dicot plant. Okay. So if seed leaves, we see seed leaf is basically that cotyledon only, with which we were discussing in the previous slide. So if any seed has only one cotyledon, then that is known as monocot. If it has two cotyledon, then it is called dicot, right? Then coming to the flower part. Also, if you see that if any plant have multiple of three, there are petals, like we have the petals of flowers. If we have multiple of three petals, like 3, 6, or 9 petals in a flower, that is known as that is basically the monocot. And if we have multiple of four, like 4, 8 petals, so such plants are usually dicot plants, right? If we see the leaf, okay, so in monocot you will see there is a parallel venation. ठीक है, but in dicot you will see uh, there is a network like veins that that is there. ठीक है, it is a branching venation in the dicot. So that is the again differentiating feature of monocot and dicot. Coming to the roots, in monocot we have fibrous root. Okay, we'll be coming to this particular classification, what is fibrous roots and taproot. But just here understand, monocot में fibrous root होती है and dicot में we have taproot system, right? Then here examples are given. So this is just a basic idea. Again, this is not important for your examination. You can completely skip it or just have the idea कि okay, based on this I can identify if I see any particular crop. So I based on this I can identify कि whether this crop is a monocot or a dicot. ठीक है, चलो. Coming to the next classification. Next classification is basically the classification based on season. ठीक है. So season के basis में जो classification students, so you might have observed that few crops are only grown in summer season, few are grown only in the winter season, few are grown in between them, right? So why this is happening? Basically, again, all crops have different climatic requirement. Okay, some crops prefer rainy season, some crops prefer high humid season, some crops prefer low temperature, right? So based on that, we have different season, and crops are classified into these these groups, right? Based on the season. So in agriculture, we have Kharif season or Kharif season. Okay, so we have Kharif season. Okay, then we have Rabi season, and then we have Zaid season, right? So based on the crops grown in these respective season, we have Kharif crops, Rabi crops, and Zaid crops. Okay, what are these basically again? See, Kharif crops, you can remember, like Kharif also, you can also remember it from the monsoon. Okay? So when the monsoon starts, like in your June, July, when the monsoon starts, the sowing of Kharif crop is done. Okay? So whenever uh, you need to identify based on the season whether any crop is Kharif or Rabi, just see the sowing season, sowing time of that particular crop. Okay? If that crop is grown generally or sown generally during the monsoon period, which is June, July, then that crop is Kharif crop, right? So students, you need to learn here what is the sowing time and harvesting time of these crops. ठीक है, कि sowing time क्या है? June, July है. Harvesting time क्या है? September, October है, right? Example is your rice, maize and groundnut. Clear? Then we have Rabi season crop. It is also known as winter crops. Winter crops or winter season crops, right? So the sowing time of Rabi season starts once the Kharif season is harvested. Season crops are harvested. So you will see in September, October, Kharif crops are harvested. So sowing of Rabi will begin. Okay? So sowing of Rabi will begin after the harvesting of Kharif crops. And harvesting of these Rabi crops is done in March, April. Examples are barley, wheat, oat, potato, black gram. Clear? Now coming to the next, which is the summer or Zaid season. So students, summer season is the season which is in between Rabi and Kharif. Okay, still we have 2-3 months left. So what we can do, we can grow some short duration crops. Usually pulses are those short duration crops. You can see black gram, green gram, cowpea. Such crops can be grown. Okay. So in order to utilize that time and in order to get some extra income also from the same land. So sowing of Zaid season start from February, March, and harvesting is done during May, June. Okay, and from June and July onward, again Kharif will start. So this is the classification of crops based on the season. Okay. Now students, From here, in your current affair also, you will see the MSP is released, okay, for the Kharif crops. MSP is released for the Rabi crop by the government, right? So before your examination, you need to learn what is the MSP of Kharif season crops, Rabi season crops, because that can be asked in your examination. ठीक है? So based on the harvesting season, कि कब वो हार्वेस्टिंग होगी, कर हार्वेस्ट होगी वो पर्टिकुलर क्रॉप, उससे पहले ही MSP अनाउंस किया जाता है. So basically, like Kharif crop is going to harvest. Like for this particular year, we'll see. Right now we are in February, so we are about to harvest Rabi season crop. So Rabi MSP will be announced, right? So these things you have to remember and also relate with the current affair. ठीक है? तो इस तरीके से आपने यूं करंट अफेयर भी पढ़ते रहना है साथ साथ में with respect to all these things that we are reading here. Clear? Okay. See, Abhijit, sugarcane is a long duration crop. Usually, sugarcane takes 16 to 18 months for completing its entire life cycle. So we cannot say it as a Rabi or Kharif season, ठीक है? Because see, आप शुगर केन जो है वो पूरे साल भर तक आपके फील्ड में रहती है, राइट? सो उसको हम खरीफ सीजन में नहीं क्लासिफाई कर सकते हैं. दैट्स वाई यू माइट हैव सीन कि शुगर केन के लिए FRP रिलीज होता है, राइट? रबी और खरीफ के लिए आपका MSP रिलीज होता है, एंड फॉर शुगर केन FRP is released. Fair and remunerative prices are released. ठीक है? So that the sugarcane farmers can get the good price of sugarcane that they are growing. Clear? Okay. Now next classification that we have to learn is based on mode of pollination. Clear? Now students, before understanding what is the classification based on mode of pollination, we have to understand the meaning of pollination, right? कि pollination होता क्या है? So students, I have told you that flower is that part of a plant which is developing seeds, right? So जो आपका seed है that is developed inside a flower. But the question arises how this seed is developed inside the flower, right? So it happens basically, students, as inside the flower, if you see, there are different parts of flower in which there is a female part and then there is a male part, right? This female part consists of stigma, style, and ovary, which is known as carpel. And then we have a male part which have anther and filament. This is anther and this is filament, which is known as stamen. Okay? Now inside this anther part, pollen grains are produced. Okay? Pollen grains are produced, and these pollen grains need to be transferred. They should be transferred from here to the female part so that it can fuse with the egg cell inside the female part of a plant and can form the seed. Okay? So this is the process of formation of seed in general, right? So this process of transferring, okay, how this pollen grain is transferring, or the process of transferring of pollen grain from anther to the stigma, is known as pollination. Clear? So basically, here you can see the act of transferring pollen grain from male anther to the female stigma is known as pollination. Clear? You can see here pollen is being transferred to the female part. Clear? Now, this pollination can be of different type. Okay, there can be self-pollination and then there can be a cross-pollination. What is the difference? Now, students, if any, in there is a flower, okay, this particular flower has its male part and its female part. So now if this anther is being transferred from the male part of the same plant, same flower, ठीक है, तो सेम फ्लावर के मेल पार्ट से फीमेल पार्ट पर अगर एंथर ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, दैट इज नोन एज सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन. मींस दिस पर्टिकुलर flower is doing self-pollination. It is transferring the pollen grain from its male part to its own female part, right? That is known as self-pollination. Then we have another type of pollination which is known as cross pollination. You can see here this butterfly is doing a cross pollination. Basically, this butterfly sits on one flower, collect the pollen. Basically, the pollen get attached to the part of a butterfly, and when this butterfly sits on other flower, the pollen from one flower get transferred into the a female part of the other flower, right? So this type of pollination is known as cross pollination. ठीक है, इसको cross pollination कहा जाता है. And based on this, students, crops may be the crops that are self-pollinated are called self-pollinated crops, and crops where cross pollination is required are known as cross-pollinated crops. ठीक है. So yes, this is the simple difference here based on the pollination that is happening in any crop. We have self-pollinated crop and cross-pollinated crop, right? Now, if I talk about agent of pollination, now for self-pollination, there is no agent required, okay? But for the cross-pollination, we require some agent, and these agents can be biotic and abiotic. Biotic means living, abiotic means non-living. Now, when wind and water, okay, wind and pollination can occur through wind as well as water, which is a abiotic agent of pollination. Then we have several biotic agent of pollination. It can include your birds, reptiles, mammals, bees. Okay, all these can contribute in cross pollination, right? Now, here are few terminologies which are specifically referred to some specific type of pollination. So, when water pollination happens, that is known as hydrophily. Okay, it is known as hydrophily. You can learn these terms. When wind pollination occurs, it is known as anemophily, right? When pollination occurs by animal, it is known as zoophily. And when pollination happens by insect, it is known as entomophily. Clear? So these are few terms that you can remember with regards to the agent of pollination, right? Okay. Clear? Now students, see, जो ये pollination हो रहा है, that is the self pollination and cross pollination. Why this happens, right? Why this happens? So basically we have two type of flowers. ठीक है? We have two type of flowers. So if any plant, like if any plant has only, see, basically we have two type of we can see say, just give me a minute. So students, flowers जो हैं, they can be of two type. Okay, a flower can have both male and female part. ठीक है, one flower can have both male and female part, and it can be like flower have either male or female. ठीक है, या तो ये हो सकता है कि your flower have both the part male and female. So if any flower have both the part, like male and female part, both are present in one single flower, then there will be a chances of self pollination, right? But if there is a scenario like few in a plant few flowers are female flowers and few flowers are male flowers, so their cross pollination is required, right? Sometimes it can happen like there can be few, like there can be two type of tree, like in case of papaya, one having male flower and other having only female flower. ठीक है, again in this case cross pollination will be required, right? So this is the reason why this self pollination and cross pollination occur in crops, right? Now students, we have a monoecious crop. Monoecious crop is basically where the male and female is present in the same plant. ठीक है, where male and female is present in the same plant, like in maize. You might have seen, if you have ever seen the maize plant, so you will see a tassel, which is the top part of this plant, that is the male flower. Okay, and the part is the maize or the corn that we eat, right? That bhutta that we eat, that is the female part basically. So this is known as silk. So if male and female part is both are present on the same plant, एक ही plant में male और female part दोनों present है, that is known as monoecious tree or monoecious plant, right? But if we need one, if there is a different plant for male and female flower, that is known as dioecious. ठीक है? So mono means one, where only one plant have both the male and female flower, and dioecious is basically where one plant have will have either male or female. ठीक है? So in such case, in dioecious case, whenever we are going for the plantation of papaya, so always it is recommended that we have to make sure that there are plants which have male flower as well as female flowers. ठीक है? अगर हम plants लगा देंगे which can develop only female flower, then again there will be no pollination, there will be no output, there will be no yield, right? So we have to ensure that there are some male plants as well in the papaya orchard, so that pollination can happen and we can get the yield. So the point is here that some plant can have male and female flower both in the same plant, and some can have in the different plant. So based on that we have monoecious and dioecious. ठीक है? So again it is just if you just for your information, but such questions, such in detail questions are not asked in the examination. Abhijit, see, for that we have to, grow the plant, and once the plant is grown, then only we can tell you whether it is male or female, right? Uh, yeah. Chalo. Now, students, based on the depth of root, ठीक है? So till now we have discussed about the self pollination and all. Now the classification of these crops, classification of the crops are also done based on the depth of root and type of root system. ठीक है? कि कितनी डेप्थ में रूट जा रही है और कौन से टाइप का रूट सिस्टम प्रेजेंट है. Based on that we have a classification. Now students, based on the depth of the root system, um, we have shallow root crop. Okay, we have the shallow root crops, we have intermediate root crops, and we have deep root crops. So if the root if the root depth is okay, ठीक है. So if the root depth, like this is a plant, or say this is a plant. So students, you will see, you might have seen ki when you uproot few plant, okay, few plants are easily uprooted, and sometimes you have to put a lot of effort to uproot some plants. So why that happens? Because some plants have shallow root system. Shallow root system means they have root depth which is not extending beyond 1 meter, and some have deep root system. ठीक है? So their root system goes beyond 1 meter of depth inside the soil. So that is the reason why few plants are easily uprooted, and in few plants you will have to you will have to put a lot of effort to uproot them, right? So yes, we have shallow root system. If any plant root system extends in the soil to the depth of 1 meter, that is shallow root. Okay, or we can say depth of root system is below 1 meter. So like wheat, barley, rye, and all your cereal crops. ठीक है? You might have seen the cereals. You will be easily able to uproot a wheat plant or rice plant or barley plant, right? Because they have all shallow root system. Then we have intermediate root system. So intermediate root system varies from 1 to 1.5 meter. ठीक है? When the depth of the root system is from 1 to 1.5 meter, that is intermediate. And then we have deep root system where the depth is more than 1.5 meter. Here alpha alpha is the example. ठीक है? So this is nothing, this is just कि कितने extent तक roots penetrate करती हैं soil में for any particular crop. We have shallow, intermediate and deep root system, right? Now, here is the difference of taproot system and fibrous root system, students, that we have seen in the classification or in the differentiation of monocot and dicot. Okay. So here, what is the difference of taproot and fibrous root? All the crops that we have, they will either have taproot or fibrous root system. Taproot system is this type of system, students, where there is one main root, okay, that which is known as main root, or yeah, we have one main root that go deep inside the soil, and there are small rootlets attached to it. ठीक है, एक main root होती है that penetrate deep inside the soil, and then we have small rootlets, or small rootlets attached to it. That is the taproot system. Then we have a fibrous root system. What is fibrous root system? So here there is no differentiation between main root or the lateral roots. There is no differentiation. Okay, you will see a fibrous like structure. So this is known as fibrous root system. So in your red gram grapes, taproot system is found, and in your cereal crops like wheat and rice, you will see the fibrous root system. So yeah, this is the two type of root system that is generally seen in any crop. Okay, so we have taproot system and fibrous root system. Clear? Is it clear? Okay. So root system का जो classification है, we have discussed based on the depth and based on the type. Clear? Okay. Coming to the other classification, which is based on the climate. Now, students, you might have also seen that a few crops are found in certain areas only, like in Himachal, Uttaranchal, or Uttarakhand, or the Jammu Kashmir area. You will see apples are grown, but same thing, but in if we come to the tropical areas, in the southern areas, you will see mangoes are majorly grown, right? So why this difference is happening? Again, due to the climatic conditions. Okay, due to the difference in climatic condition of these two regions. So based on that, we have different types of crop: temperate crop, tropical crop, and subtropical crop, right? So crops that can grow well in the temperate region, like in the colder region, okay, these crops can withstand the winter condition, the low temperature, sometimes the chilling temperature also, right? So crops which can withstand such kind of conditions are known as temperate zone crops. इसमें आपकी wheat, oat, ray, these are the examples. Coming to the tropical zone crops, so crops which cannot withstand cool condition, they require high temperature, right? If there is a frost, these crop will be affected, right? So these are known as tropical zone crops. Basically they require high warm condition, warm temperature, right? So example are your rice, sugarcane, mango, right? Then we have subtropical crop. So students, subtropical crops are basically in the crops which can those crops which can bear uh, a little bit of cold. They can withstand a little bit of cold condition as well as the warm condition. So they are in between temperate and tropical basically. So such crops are known as subtropical crops, right? Like your citrus, dates, fig, these are the subtropical crops. ठीक है? So this was the classification based on climate कि किस climate में कोई particular crop पाई जाती है, right? So temperate, tropical and subtropical. I hope this is clear. Okay, now based on the nutrient uptake, students, we have a restorative crop and we have exhaustive crop, right? So I have told you already about this. So restorative crops are nothing but the pulses. Examples of restorative crops are pulses or legumes. I have told you that these crops, legumes specifically, they help in restoring the soil fertility. That's why they are known as restorative crops, right? So they help in returning nutrient and organic matter back to the soil. Hence, it is known as restorative crop. Okay. Alfalfa, legumes, these are all your restorative crops. Also, the green manure crops, dhecha, sun hemp, they are restorative crop, right? Then we have the exhaustive crops. What are exhaustive crops? The crops which heavily feed on soil and deplete soil nutrient, and they do not contribute in returning the nutrient back to the soil, right? These are called exhaustive crops. Example are sorghum and sunflower. ठीक है? Also all your cereal crop, जितनी भी आपकी cereal crop हैं, they are the exhaustive crops, right? Okay. So I hope It is also clear restorative crops, crops that can contribute in bringing or contribute in or return the nutrient back to the soil, and exhaustive that feed heavily on soil. Okay. Now, students, next classification is based on the CO2 fixation. Again, this is a very, I would not say important, but very technical classification based on specific reactions that occur inside the plant body. Here we will in brief understand what reactions are we talking about and exactly on what basis this classification is done. And you just need to understand the background in a brief way. It's not like you have to learn all the cycles or everything here that we are going to discuss. But yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit background first, and then we are going to talk about how this classification is done or on which basis particularly this classification is done. Right? Okay. Um, okay. So here is a question for you guys. Please tell me, what do you understand by photosynthesis? ठीक है? Very basic question है. We all might have covered this in our schools. So please tell me, what is photosynthesis for you? Okay, anybody? Okay, very good. Very good. ठीक है? तो photosynthesis क्या है basically? No, Vaibhav. Photosynthesis is not the synthesis of chlorophyll. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else want to try? Yes, very good, Tripti. Plant makes their own food with the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Okay, Abhijit, I have written absorbing sunlight and carbon dioxide and giving oxygen. This phenomena is photosynthesis. Okay, it's just Abhijit absorbing of sunlight and carbon dioxide. Why plant is absorbing this sunlight and carbon dioxide? Okay, that is important. Uh, yes, to make their food, right? Biological process used by plant to convert light energy into chemical energy, form of sugar. Very good. In which plants make their food presence of sunlight. ठीक है, process of converting carbon dioxide into oxygen. No. Harshita, process of converting carbon dioxide into oxygen. That is not photosynthesis. Okay, I'm going to tell you what is photosynthesis in a bit. Process where photodrops convert light energy into chemical energy. Okay, we can say that creation of glucose. ठीक है, process of making food. Water and chlorophyll. Okay, 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 okay. So got it. ठीक है. Now students see photosynthesis. What is this photosynthesis basically? uh, ठीक है. Photosynthesis में होता क्या है कि see, plants are autotrophs. Autotrophs means they are not dependent on any other thing for the food. They make their own food, right? So basically, plant have this ability to make their own food. That's why they are known as autotroph, right? And students, organisms which are dependent on others for the food are known as heterotrophs, right? देखो, autotrophs मतलब वो खुद अपना खाना बना सकते हैं. Now, how do they cook or how do they make their own food? Okay, so the process of making food inside the plant is known as photosynthesis. Means plant, the process through which this plant is making food is known as photosynthesis. And now let's see what is this process. So in this process, students, plant require carbon dioxide. See, what is the food? First of all, we have to see food is glucose. Food is glucose, which is a carbon compound. So plant need carbon, right? Plant needs source of carbon, right? Plant need hydrogen, plant need oxygen, right? So from where all these component will come, right? Glucose में आप देखोगे कार्बन हाइड्रोजन ऑक्सीजन है, अब ये कहाँ से आएगा, right? So students, ग्लूकोज बनाने के लिए plant absorb carbon dioxide. So basically in order to make glucose, which is the food of a plant, plant absorb carbon dioxide, and from where this carbon dioxide is being absorbed? From atmosphere. ठीक है, that's why we say plants take carbon dioxide and releases oxygen, right? So from atmosphere, plant absorb carbon dioxide, they absorb water from soil, right? And now this carbon dioxide and water, with the help of sunlight, I'm saying here, and chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is basically a pigment. It is a pigment that is present inside plant, ठीक है, and that helps in the process of photosynthesis. ठीक है, understand this कि carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll make glucose for plant, which is the food of plant. So this is the process of photosynthesis. But photosynthesis है क्या? It is a process through which plant is making their own food. Okay, that is the glucose. And in this process, plant requires carbon dioxide, plant requires water, and with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, this carbon dioxide and water that is absorbed by the plant is getting converted into glucose, and the oxygen is released into the atmosphere. Okay, oxygen, which is a byproduct here, is released back into the atmosphere. So this is the process of photosynthesis. Okay, through this process, plant make the food. Now here students, I have told you the very first step is to absorb carbon dioxide. Okay? So how this carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plant, or how this carbon dioxide get fixed inside the plant. Based on that we have this classification. ठीक है? ये कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड कैसे फिक्स होता है प्लांट में, उस बेसिस पे ही ये क्लासिफिकेशन है. ठीक है? आई होप टिल नाउ देयर इज नो कंफ्यूजन, राइट? नाउ okay, you can see from this diagram also here, carbon dioxide plus water is taken by the plant, okay, with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, which is already present in the plant. Plant make carbohydrate, which is glucose, which is the food of a plant, and releases oxygen. Okay, so students, this carbon fixation or carbon assimilation is basically a process of conversion inorganic carbon into carbon compound. Okay, so I have told you here that plant is absorbing carbon dioxide. So plant need to fix carbon dioxide. Okay, so what is this carbon fixation or carbon assimilation, based on which we will be discussing the classification. So carbon fixation and carbon assimilation is a process through which the inorganic carbon that is being absorbed by plant from the atmosphere get converted into organic compound, which is the glucose, right? Now, a similar process occur in plant, that is known as photosynthesis, right? So basically here this particular line is to make us understand the meaning of carbon fixation or carbon assimilation. Clear? I hope this part is clear what is happening for the photosynthesis, right? All those who had the confusion regarding photosynthesis, from here it should be clear, right? Sure. Now students, we have to understand a bit about the mechanism of photosynthesis. ठीक है? How this carbon dioxide is being fixed, how glucose is being formed. So for that, a little bit, we'll understand little bit mechanism and all. We'll see what are the reactions involved, but again they are not important. You just need this thing to understand कि actually में हम जो पढ़ रहे हैं उसका context क्या है. Okay, so all this thing is to build the context basically, or give you the background. Okay, now students, inside the plant you will see there are two reactions that happens. Okay, so we have light reaction and then we have a dark reaction or light independent reaction. Okay, why this? So basically the for reaction 1, we'll call it reaction 1, and this is reaction 2. So reaction 1 is called light reaction because it is dependent on sunlight. Okay, and reaction 2 is known as dark reaction or light independent reaction because it is not dependent on sunlight. Now, when I say it as a dark reaction, it does not mean कि it is happening during night time. Okay, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो रात को होगी reaction. It means it is just not dependent on light, right? That's why it's called light independent reaction. Clear? Now, students, in the first reaction, what happens? The water that is absorbed by the plant get split into hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so with the how this water is being getting splitted into hydrogen and oxygen, there is the role of chlorophyll. Okay, with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, water gets split into hydrogen ion and oxygen ion. Okay, so now when this splitting happens, this hydrogen is used to reduce NADP into NADPH. Okay, now what is this NADP and NADPH? Basically, you can see these are the energy currency inside the प्लांट सेल. ठीक है, जिससे प्लांट को रिएक्शन करने में हेल्प होगी आगे. क्लियर? इतना समझ लो कि this will help in the further reaction. Okay, this will provide energy to the cell to do further reaction. ठीक है. Then we have ADP also. ADP get converted into ATP. Again, ATP is a form of energy inside the plant. ठीक है. Now, when this happens, this particular thing happens in the phase 1, which is the light reaction. And after that, once it has happened, in the next reaction, where the carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plant, ठीक है, carbon dioxide get converted into glucose, and the energy required to convert this carbon dioxide into glucose comes from the light reaction where this NADP and ATP was formed. ठीक है, तो पहली रिएक्शन में इन द फर्स्ट रिएक्शन व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, these energy currencies are being formed by the splitting of water molecule, right? Once we have energy currencies, then these energy currencies will be utilized to convert this carbon dioxide into the glucose, which is our end result, which is the food for the plant. Clear? So this is just a overview. Now here, students, this classification that we are going to study, basically in few plants, this carbon dioxide when get fixed in plant cell get converted into 3 carbon compound. ठीक है? In some plant it get converted into 4 carbon compound. So yes, this is the classification. In how many carbon compound the carbon dioxide that is getting fixed inside the cell, उस बेसिस पे ही क्लासिफिकेशन है. ठीक है, अभी और थोड़ा अच्छे से समझ में आएगा इन द कमिंग स्लाइड. ठीक है, वील अंडरस्टैंड इन डिटेल in the coming slide, but just understand in the second reaction, that is the light independent or the dark reaction, this carbon dioxide is getting fixed. Okay, it is going through a cycle which is known as Kelvin cycle. Again, a series of reaction it is happening here, right? And after that, the end result that we get is sugar, which is glucose, which is food of plant, right? Okay, coming to the difference again of these light reaction, which is also known as primary photochemical reaction or Hill reaction or Arnon cycle. And dark reaction, Blackman reaction, it is also known as path of carbon in photosynthesis, right? So in light reaction, as I've already told you, ATP and NADPH2 are produced, okay, by splitting of water, right? So this particular reaction is known as Hill reactions, as Hill proved that chloroplasts produce O2 from water in the presence of light. So the chloroplast, which has chlorophyll, right? It split water into oxygen and it will split water into hydrogen and oxygen. That was proved by Hill. So that's why it's also known as Hill reaction. Okay? Student, it is also known as Arnon cycle because Arnon showed that this hydrogen ion that we are getting from the splitting of water is used to convert NADP into NADPH. Clear? Then on the other side, if I talk about dark reaction, so here CO2 is being converted into glucose with the help of ATP and NADPH2 that is produced in the light reaction. This particular reaction is known as Blackman because the concept of dark reaction in the photosynthesis was initially explained by the Blackman. Okay, and thus it is known as Blackman reaction. Now here the important thing is that two type of cyclic reaction occurs. Okay, when the carbon dioxide get fixed into the cell of plant, there can be two type of cycles that can happen based on the conversion of carbon product or the CO2. Okay, I'm going to explain it to you in later slide. But here understand that two cyclic reaction can happen once the carbon dioxide get fixed into the plant. Okay, it first is Calvin cycle or C3 cycle, and next is C4 cycle, or it is also known as Hatch and Slack cycle. So what will decide कि कौन सी cycle होगी students? So it will be decided कि whether the carbon dioxide is converted into 3 carbon compound or 4 carbon compound. ठीक है? If carbon dioxide which is fixed inside the plant get converted into 3 carbon compound, then the Calvin cycle will happen, right? But if the carbon dioxide get converted into 4 carbon compound, then this Hatch and Slack cycle or C4 cycle will happen. Clear? I hope this is clear. Okay, again, you don't need to learn here, you just have to understand how things are going, right? And why on what basis this classification is done. Clear? Now coming to the C3 and C4 plant. Okay, there is one more category of CAM plant, but we'll discuss that later. So here students, if we see in C3 plant, the CO2 is get fixed, okay, it get converted into 3 carbon compound, and this 3 carbon compound enter the Calvin cycle, and through this Calvin cycle the CO2 get converted into glucose, and all this is happening inside the mesophyll. Mesophyll is basically the leaf cell. Okay, mesophyll is the cell that is in the leaf part of a plant. Clear? In case of C4 plant students, along with the mesophyll cells, there are some bundle sheath cells present. ठीक है, आपको याद रखना है कि जो plant की leaf है, देखो, plant leaf have opening known as stomata, right? So plants have opening, plant leaves has opening, because see, you could have asked me, ma'am, how the plants are absorbing this carbon dioxide. So there must be some opening, like we are inhaling oxygen because we have a nostril for that, right? So similarly, openings are present in the plant leaf that are known as stomata, and through these opening, plants are absorbing CO2. ठीक है? And we know the site of photosynthesis is leaf. ठीक है? For a plant, site of photosynthesis is leaf part. Leaves are making the food for the plant, right? So it's very important कि plant have a good quality leaf or more surface area of leaf, ताकि more carbon dioxide can be absorbed and more food can be produced, right? So leaf में we have cells, first mesophyll cell, and in case of C4 plant, along with the leaf, we have, along with the mesophyll cell, we have bundle sheath uh, cells. Okay, students. So the first thing that is happening, which is in case of C3 plant, the CO2 is directly getting converted into glucose in mesophyll cells. Okay, there is no other cells required. But in case of C4 plant, see students, when we see the structure of glucose, it is C6. Okay, so it's easy to convert C3 into C6. But in case of C4 plant, where this carbon dioxide is getting fixed as a C4 compound, so first this C4 compound need to reduce to C3, and then this C3 will be doubled as C4, sorry, C6, right, which is glucose. That's why there is a different mechanism in C4 plant. Clear? So what will happen in C4 plant? CO2 is absorbed by mesophyll cell, get converted into C4 compound, right? Then the C4 compound will enter into bundle sheath cell, okay, and further it will, and then it will enter into C3 cycle, sorry, Calvin cycle, and then this Calvin cycle, through this Calvin cycle, the CO2 which is fixed get converted into glucose. Ultimate product is glucose, right? Ultimately, plant has to make the food, but based on the difference in morphology, we can say we have C4, C3 plant. In some plant, directly CO2 get converted into 3 carbon compound and get converted into glucose. In some plant, the CO2 first get converted into C4 carbon compound, then reduced into C3 and then form the glucose. Clear? So that is the difference of C3, C4 plant. Okay. Coming to the other category. Now students, there is one more category of plant.
known as CAM plant. Okay. Now, in some plants, specifically the plants which are there in desert areas, right? I have told you that plant open these stomata, which are the opening of the plants, right, and absorb carbon dioxide. Now, students, imagine a scenario where there is a, and also students from these opening plant, evaporate water. There is a loss of water also through this opening. So when plant will be absorbing CO2, there will be some amount of water that will be lost to the atmosphere from the plant body, right? Because it is opening, just opening. So plant transpire. Basically, that process known as transpiration through which the plant loses water from its body. Okay? So imagine a scenario that there is a plant which is in the desert condition. Okay, it is growing in the desert condition. It has scarcity of water. Now if that plant will open this stomata during daytime, okay, to absorb CO2 and to make glucose during daytime, what will happen? As soon as the stomata will open, CO2 will be absorbed, but a lot of water will be lost from the plant body. And in case in desert condition, we have a scarcity of water. So the plants have challenge that they need to store maximum water inside their body. They cannot lose this water, right? So in that case, students, there is a reversal mechanism. So basically, what happens in case of CAM plant, these stomatas are open during night time. So what this plant have adopted, they have come up with a mechanism. They have adopted or they have developed this mechanism where they open their stomata during night time. Okay, during night time they absorb all CO2. Okay, they capture all CO2 during night time, and during daytime when the stomata is closed, then they convert the CO2 into glucose. So basically here the stomata opening is reversed. Okay, timing of stomata opening is reversed from the other two plant, that is C3 and C4 plant. So that's why they are called as CAM plant, where the stomata are open during night time. During night plants store all CO2, okay, and then during daytime this plant close the stomata and then this convert this CO2 into the glucose. Clear? So these are the three type of crop plant that we have, and this is the classification based on CO2 fixation. So in detail you can see. So mostly that we have plant on earth, 85% plants on earth are of C3 types. Only 3% plants are of C4 type and approximately 8% are of CAM type. Okay? So in C3 photosynthesis will happen. In C4 will happen. And in CAM, which is the cancellation acid metabolism, CAF photosynthesis will happen, right? C3 में C3 cycle will happen. In C3, both C3 and C4 cycle will happen, right? C4 will happen in mesophyll and then C3 will happen in bundle sheath cell, right? Then in CAM also C3 and C4 both will happen, right? If we talk about stomata movement, so stomata will open during daytime and close during night in case of C3 and C4, but the reversal is in the case of CAM. Okay, now these C3 are mostly found in temperate, C4 are found in tropical and semi-tropical, high light intensity, high temperature or drought conditions. And your CAM are specifically found in the drought habitat, right? So you can see example of C3 and C3 is rice, wheat, soybean, barley, rye, oat. Then for the CAM, it is the all orchard plant. Okay. Then students, example of C4 are important. Okay. Sugarcane, maize, sorghum, millet. Because in your examination, they can ask you the example of C4. Okay. So you have to learn C4 example. Rest, rice, wheat, other crop, you can put in the category of C3. And then if you see any plant is found in the desert condition like orchid, cactus, aloe vera, these are of CAM plant. Okay. I hope now this classification is clear, right? Uh, is there any problem understanding this classification? Uh, you can ask me. Okay, regarding this classification. Okay, all clear. That's great. That's great that you are able to understand. And now I hope uh, the definition of photosynthesis is also clear to all those uh, जिनको पहले थोड़ा सा क्लैरिटी नहीं थी फोटोसिंथेसिस के डेफिनेशन में, राइट? ओके, ग्रेट. चलो, let's move ahead. Now, students, we have a last classification which is based on special purpose. ठीक है? Now, again, see, in agriculture, few terminologies are given. ठीक है? Few terminologies are given to specific to the crops if they are grown for a specific purpose. ठीक है? These crop can be again same field crop or the fodder crop and so, but if they are grown specifically for some specific purpose, then few terminologies are given basically. So you can consider it as a terminologies based on the special purpose to different crops, right? So first is arable crops. Now, students, arable crops term is given. You might have seen in your current affair also that this much percentage area is the arable land that we have. So, what is arable means? That the land that need that can be plowed. Okay, and crops are basically arable crops are basically the crop which require plowing. ठीक है, crop which are cultivated on plowed land. ठीक है, so these crops are known as arable crops. They are annual crops which include your cereals, root crops, tobacco, sugarcane, maize, potato. ठीक है, कुछ नहीं है. एरिएबल क्रॉप्स और एरिएबल लैंड मतलब लैंड दैट कैन बी प्लोड इज एरिएबल लैंड, and crops that are grown on plowed land or can are cultivated on the plowed land are arable crops. ठीक है, next we have is aromatic crop. Now, students, what are aromatic crop? As the name suggests, these crops have some kind of odoriferous or volatile substance due to which there is some kind of aroma associated with these crops, right? Such crops are called aroma crop, like your lemongrass, citronella, patchouli, mint. These crop have some particular aroma associated with them, right? Due to which we are growing them and they are liked by the humans. So such crops are known as aromatic crops. Next we have is augment crop. Now, students, few crops are grown along with the main crops, ठीक है, to increase the yield of main crop. Now, what I mean by saying that, here example of Japanese mustard and berseem is given, right? Yeah, Japanese mustard and berseem is given. So, like if you will go for growing berseem alone, ठीक है, like we have a field. In this field, if you will grow just berseem, your yield can be like for say 10 quintal per hectare, right? But if you will go for growing berseem along with Japanese mustard, you will see the berseem yield has increased to 15 quintal per hectare. So what has happened here? You have just added this Japanese mustard, which is an augment crop to berseem, means if we grow Japanese mustard, yield of berseem will increase. So this Japanese crop will become an augment crop. Okay, this crop has done what? It has increased the yield of main crop. Clear? So such crops are known as augment crop. Now coming to the next uh, group, which is avenue crop. Now, students, this is a very specific examples which you all might have seen. Sometimes when we drive along the road, so you might have seen that alongside the road, plantation is done, right? You can see here, tree plantation is done, or you might have also seen that along the farm boundary also sometimes tree plantation is done in order to define the boundary. Or in case of road, in order to provide shade, also in order to increase the greenery, in order to define the line, or the in order to maintain the distance between two roads, these crops are grown, right? So such crops are grown along the roads and fences are known as avenue crops. ठीक है, so pigeon pea, glycidia, sisal, all these are example of avenue crops. Next we have is catch crop or contingent crop. ठीक है, now as the name suggests, catch or contingent crop, what can happen sometimes, our main crop can fail due to any situation, like there can be a disease infestation, there can be a pest infestation, right? So our main crop can fail. So in order to what in order to overcome that losses, we go for growing catch crop. Okay, so it is basically a quick growing crop incidentally planted and harvested between two major crop in consecutive season. Also, it may be contingency crop to replace the major crop which has failed. So basically, it is a contingency plan, right? Like you have grown rice and there is some kind of infestation that has happened in rice and your yield has reduced. Now, what you will do, you will go for growing any pulse crop so that losses that you have incurred in the rice can overcome from the pulses crop, right? So this is a catch crop or contingent crop. Next we have is a contoured crops, right? Now students, what are these contoured crops? Basically, some crops are grown along the contour line. Okay? What are contour line? So few lands are not flat. They have some kind of elevation, right? So you might have seen, especially in the mountains, that we have some elevation. Now points joining the similar elevation, same elevation is known as contour lines. ठीक है? तो ये elevation same है, and the line joining these two elevation is contour lines. And along the contour lines, if you go for growing any crop, ठीक है? Along the contour line, if you are growing crops here along the contour line, are known as contour crops. ठीक है? To protect the land from soil erosion, because see students, when we have a slopy land there is a high chances of soil erosion and water erosion, means soil can get washed off easily from the slopy land, right? So to protect the soil we go for growing contour crops. Clear? So I hope it is also clear what is contour crop. Next we have is complementary crop. ठीक है? What is complementary crop? Basically, students, sometimes we go for growing two crops and both main crop and intercrop is benefited from each other. ठीक है? When we are growing two crops and our main crop and the intercrop. Intercrop is basically any other crop grown with the main crop. They both are benefited from each other. They are known as complementary crop, means they are complementing each other, right? Like jowar and lobia. So in case of this example, jowar is a millet crop, right? So jowar is providing support to lobia, because lobia you can see it needs supports to grow, right? So jowar is providing support to lobia plant, and lobia is a pulse crop which is fixing atmospheric nitrogen for jowar, right? So jowar को क्या मिल रहा है? Nitrogen मिल रहा है from the lobia, and lobia is getting support from the jowar. So this is the complementary relation between jowar and lobia. So such crops are known as complementary crops. Then we have a competitive crops. So in students, some cases what can happen if we go for growing two exhaustive crops. Exhaustive crops kya hai? I've told you the crops which exhaust nutrient from the soil. They feed heavily on the soil for the nutrients, right? So two exhaustive crops like rice and maize, if these two exhaustive crops are grown together, right, what will happen? They both will compete for the nutrient. So there will be a competition and ultimately yield of both will be impacted, right? So these crops are known as complementary crops. So basically crops which are fighting for the same resources are called competitive crops. Sorry, they are known as competitive crops, right? So it is never advisable that you go for growing two cereals. ठीक है? You have to dedicate a land for one cereal and other part of land to other cereals, but never intercrop them, because what will happen? They both will compete for the nutrient and ultimately your yield will decline, right? So this is the competitive crop. Name से भी थोड़ा बहुत पता चल रहा है, right? Then we have a fouling crop. So students, sometimes what can happen? The cultivation practices of some crop can increase the weed infestation in the field. ठीक है? What are weeds? Weeds, I have told you, are the unwanted plants in field, right? So farmer do not want these plants in the field, but sometimes what can happen? The cultivation practices of some crops can increase the weed infestation in the field, and such crops are known as fouling crops. Like for example, here the example of direct seeded upland rice is given. So students, what does it mean? See, if you know that rice are generally cultivated with the with transplanting method. What is this transplanting method, students? In case of transplanting method, what we do, we we sow seed of rice in a small area, okay, which is known as nursery. Okay, and after 20 to 25 days, these seedlings, ठीक है, when the seed will germinate, it will form seedlings, and so after 20 to 25 days, the seedlings are transferred to the main field. Now in the main field, what you'll do, you will fill the field with water. ठीक है, your entire field will be filled with water, and you will uproot the seedling and you will transplant these seedling here, right? And there is another method where you do not go for growing in nursery. You do not go for doing the standing water condition in the field. You have just directly broadcasted the rice seed in the field. Okay. Now there is two scenario. This is transplanting and this is direct broadcasting. Okay. Now see, you tell me now in which case the weed infestation will be more. This is a question for you. In which of the following case weed infestation will be more? Yes, it will be more in case of broadcasting. And if you say so, why? Please give me the reason also, right? If you are saying कि in case of broadcasting or in case of case 2, which is broadcasting, weed infestation will be more. Why so? Take your time, think about it, and you can give me your answer. Okay. Abhijit, no, that is not the answer, right? That is not the answer for this particular thing. We can easily go due to everyone. Okay, so Jyoti, आपने कहा कि wheat can easily grow due to availability of nutrient in case of broadcasting. So what does that mean? Weeds के लिए nutrient availability transplanting में नहीं होगा, right? Does that mean कि wheat will not have nutrient availability in case of transplanting method? Okay, Tanya, space. So what in case of transplanting also there will be space between plants. Weed can grow, weed can have sufficient space in case of transplanting. Okay. That's difficult. No, Mangal, that will not be the answer. Okay. Okay, neither is the case of intercropping. See, students, one thing that you're missing here, once again, I'm repeating myself, right? So there is a condition where we have filled the entire land with water, right? Filled the entire land with the water, and then we have transplanted the rice. In the other case, we have just dropped seed on the field. Okay. Uh, so why A? So in case of broadcasting, there if you go for plowing and all, and then also you go for direct sowing, that can also increase the weed infestation. Very good. Payal, you have given the answer. Good. Yes, very good, Tripti. ठीक है. So yeah, students, the thing is here that what I have told you here that in fowling crop, the cultivation practices increase the weed infestation. So I have told you already in case of transplanting rice, the cultivation practice is that we are filling the entire field with water. There is the standing water condition, and over that we are transplanting the rice. ठीक है? So when we have mud-like condition or the water standing on the field, what will happen? there will be no aeration for wheat plant, wheat seeds. So weeds क्या होते हैं? Wheat seeds are already present on the field. Okay, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि आपके seed के साथ या फिर farmer उनको डालता है. Wheat seeds are already there in the field, right? But in case of transplanting, as water is filled in the field, water is there in the field, the wheat seeds will not have sufficient oxygen to grow. Okay, wheat seed will suffocate due to the absence of oxygen. In case of broadcasting, first of all, there is space for growing. Space to transplanting may be, but the wheat seed can easily grow because they there is a full aeration condition. They have good access to air and they can grow easily. Okay, so you can consider like ki this, we are growing just rice, but the cultivation practice was different. One practice was that we were using transplanting method, and other practice was that we were using broadcasting method. But the broadcasting method practice increases the weed infestation due to the aeration. And in case of transplanting, there was no oxygen available for the weed seed, so that reduces the weed infestation, right? So in case of broadcasting, which is direct seeding of rice, this is known as fouling crop. Okay. So, okay, Samrit, I'll try to wrap up the class by 9:30. Okay. Okay, so already, okay, so I'll try, but I cannot say, okay, the class can extend. Just give me a minute. Okay. Yes, Samrat, you can watch recorded class, like you can attend the live class, and whatever is left on the very day, you can watch the recorded class as well, right? Thank you, Tripti. So yes, coming back to the topic. So next we have to understand mulch crop. Okay, so other special purpose crops is mulch crop. Other categories mulch crop. Now, what is this mulch crop, students? Mulch is what? First, we have to understand the meaning of mulch. Mulch is anything that is used to cover soil. Okay, anything that we use to cover soil. And why we want to cover the soil, first of all. So sometimes, see, if our land is exposed, uh, see, guys, the thing is that it's not okay. I'll talk to team if we can start the class from 7 onward, but I don't think it will be possible because the timetable has already been set, and I'll try to talk to team. Okay, chalo, let's see if I can do something about that. So we can start class from 7 onwards. Okay, I'll try, but I cannot assure you. Then few people will have difficulty in waking up early. So 7 बजे भी लोगों को problem हो सकती है. But I'll try if we can. Okay. Chalo, coming to the mulch crop. So I was telling you that mulch is anything that is used to cover the soil, right? Covering the soil is called anything that is used to cover soil is known as mulch crop, right? Now, students, why we need to cover the soil? First, we have to understand ki like if we have this land, right? And for example, here we have done the line sowing, and this is the line of our crop, right? So here we have open space in between the crop. Now, due to this open space, what can happen? The moisture that is present in soil can evaporate, right? There can be loss of water through evaporation. Then one more thing that can happen is like there can be chances of soil erosion, right? As the soil is exposed. So if there is a heavy rainfall, that rainfall can carry soil particle and move soil particle from one area, one place to another place. So we need to conserve the soil as well as we need to conserve soil moisture. For that, what we do, we cover soil, right? So this mulch can be organic or inorganic. Okay? So you might have also seen if you have ever visited any poly house or any nursery. So black mulches are used, like black covering plastic covers are used, and in between that plastic cover holes are made, right? Like this will be the mulch, and in between holes are made where plant is growing, right? So basically this is done to conserve the soil moisture as well as soil, right? So this is mulch, and mulch crop are what? Sometimes what we do, what farmers do, they grow a crop, okay? And this crop, sometimes farmer go for growing any crop, and the crop which can cover the soil completely. You can see in the picture also. Okay, this is a crop which is the foliage of this particular crop is covering the soil completely, and due to this coverage of soil by the foliage of this crop, what is happening now? Soil is in not direct contact with the atmosphere, and there can be soil moisture losses can be reduced, right? So such crops, when grown for such purpose, is known as mulch crop. So crops are grown to conserve soil moisture through covering the soil, right? Example is cowpea. I hope it is now clear what is mulch, why we use mulch, and what is the meaning of mulch crop, right? Then we have students stimulate crops. Stimulate crop is basically the crops which stimulate the human body, like tobacco, opium. Such crops are known as stimulate crops, right? Then we have a supplementary crop. Now, students, there are few crops which are neither complementary nor competitive. Neither they support each other, nor they fight for the nutrient from with each other, right? So such crops are known as supplementary crops, right? And these uh, such groups can also be grown together. Like if though there are two crops and though they do not have any problem with each other, neither do they support and neither do they fight for the nutrient, so we can go for intercropping such crop, and these crops are known as supplementary crops. ठीक है, जहां पे complementary and competitive nature नहीं होता है वो supplementary हो गया. Clear? Complementary में both will be benefited. In case of competitive, both will compete with for the same nutrient and resources. Clear? Next we have is a truck crop. Now students, this truck crop is not specifically part of your field crop or part of your agronomy. This is part of the horticulture crop basically. So truck crop kya hai? Crops like vegetables, like your tomato, onions, all kind of vegetables. They need a quick transportation channel because they need to be taken from the field to the market as soon as possible. So transportation is required here, right? Because they have less shelf life, and they need to be quickly transported from one place to another place. So such crops are known as truck crops, and growing one or more vegetable crop on large scale for fresh shipment to distant market is known as truck crops. Clear? Such crops are known as truck crops, which are grown on large area for direct shipment to the market, right? Then we have is a trap crop. Now students, what are trap crops? Here understand, as the name suggests, trap. So we are trapping something. Okay? We'll understand this with the example that is given, which is of cotton red bug trapped by ladyfinger. So like for example, we have this cotton crop. Okay? We have a field where cotton crop is growing. Okay? Then we have other cotton field where we have uh, grown the cotton crops, but on the side we have done the ladyfinger cultivation. ठीक है? So बीच में हमने in between we have sown the cotton crop, and at the boundary what we do, we go for growing ladyfinger crop, right? So students, what will happen? the cotton red bug, which is a pest of cotton, which is basically the insect of cotton, which feeds on cotton and deteriorate the quality of cotton crop. It will feed on it, means here it can easily feed on cotton crop. But in case of this trap crop, where we have grown ladyfinger as a trap crop, what will happen? This red cotton bug will feed on ladyfinger, so our main crop is protected. Okay? So now here this ladyfinger has acted as trap crop. It has trapped the red cotton bug and protected our main cotton crop. So such crops are called as trap crop, which are grown along with the or at the boundary of the main crop, so that our main crop can get protected from any kind of disease or any kind of pest. Clear? This is known as trap crop. Now then we have a smoother crop. What are smoother crop, students? This was the question that was asked in your examination. I think 2024 में ही आपका phase 1 में एक question पूछा गया था यहाँ से. So smoother crop is basically the crop which are specifically grown to suppress weed. Again, these smoother crop, what they will do, they will quickly cover the entire surface of our field, and there will be no space available for the weed seed to grow. Okay, such crops are called smoother crops. So crops are specialized to cover specialized. These are basically specialized cover crop, being ability to suppress the weed by providing dense foliage and quick growing ability. तो ये cover crop ही होती है, but these are specialized cover crop that has the ability to suppress the weed growth. Clear? These are known as smoother crops. Next we have is the paired row crops. Paired row crops is not any type of crop, but it's basically the arrangement that we have used in the field. Like paired row crops, you can see in usual practice is that we go for sowing crop in lines. But in case of paired crop, what we do, we remove the third line. We remove the third line so that we can get paired rows of these crops, right? So this is known as paired row crop. Now, why it is done? Basically, students, it is done in dryland areas so that we are keeping a space left, okay, so that whenever there is a rain, okay, the moisture can get stored in this area of soil and later on can be absorbed by the plant. So basically, this is used to store water. This area is left, or the space is left to store water, and it is basically done in the dryland areas. Clear? Okay, then we have Pera and Utera crops. What are these Pera and Utera? Basically, students, it is again a type of seed sowing method, or not seed sowing method, but it is a type of cultivation method. Basically, what is done? Like we have a field. ठीक है? Example से ही समझते हैं. This is a field of rice. Okay, now here there is a crop of rice standing on the field, and this crop has come to the maturity, right? And after 10-15 days, you are about to harvest this crop. Okay, you are about to harvest rice from here. But what will happen now? This crop, this rice has come to the maturity. ठीक है, ये maturity stage पे है. So now this rice won't need any more water or any more nutrition from the field. ठीक है, but when this rice crop is standing, there will be some amount of moisture that is present in between this rice crop, or in the field there will be some amount of nutrient that is present in the field, right? What we can do, we can utilize this 10-15 days. We can utilize the time of this 10-15 days, and as this rice has already come to the maturity, it does not need any further nutrients and everything. So what we can do, we can just sow the seed of succeeding crop before the harvesting of preceding one. ठीक है, तो हम क्या करेंगे, 10-15 डेज बाद इसकी हार्वेस्टिंग होनी है, तो 10-15 डेज पहले ही हम we will sow the seed of succeeding crop. Like for say Lithyrus is your next crop, so you will sow the seed of Lithyrus 10-15 days before harvesting of rice crop. So after 10-15 days, what will be the scenario? You have harvested the rice crop, and in your field Lithyrus will grow, right? So what you have done, you have utilized the moisture and nutrient that is already present in the field, and you have utilized this time by growing seed of the succeeding crop, right? So by 10-15 days, This lethyrus seed will absorb moisture from the field and it will germinate and it will form seedling, right? So this is known as pera utera crop or relay crop. Okay, other name is relay crop. It is also often asked in your examination. Clear? Then we have nurse crop. Now students, sometimes we are growing few crops to protect other crop. Okay, that protection can be in any form, like providing shade, providing insulation from the wind, or protecting from the frost. Okay, so when we grow any crop for protecting the other crop, that particular crop will be known as nurse crop. Okay, crop of tree, uh, shrub or other plant introduced to foster or nourishment to other crop by shading it, protecting it from the frost and insulation of the wind. That is known as nurse crop. Okay. Next we have is a lay crop. Lay crop is, students, basically crops grown for the fodder purpose for the livestock. Again, they are mixture of grasses and legumes. ठीक है, they can be mixture of grasses and legumes. They can be mixtures of grasses and cereals that are grown for feeding the livestock. ठीक है, that are grown for grazing or harvesting for immediate or future feeding of livestock. They are called lay crops. Clear? Now here students, lay crops are different from your fodder crops because the purpose of lay crop is again soil and water conservation. ठीक है, like if we have a land and that land is exposed and exposed to the atmosphere, and there is soil erosion happening, soil losses happening or water losses happening from the land. So what we can do, we can go for just growing grasses and legumes, so that, because see students, the root of the grasses have the ability to hold soil. ठीक है, इसीलिए grasses are very useful in soil conservation. So as these grasses has roots of grasses have ability to hold the soil, so we can go for growing grasses and legumes so that our soil is protected as well as we have sufficient water material for the livestock to feed. ठीक है, for feeding livestock. So yeah, that is the lay crop. Then we have as a border and guard crop. From the name itself, it is clear. Border and guard means it is protecting something, right? So when uh, one crop is established to guard the other crop is known as border or guard crop, especially the trespassing animals. So you might have seen sometimes farmer grow thorny crops or the thorny bushes around the field crops so that the trespassing animal cannot pass these border crops and cannot feed on the main crop, right? So such crops are known as border crops that protects your main crops. Clear? Okay. So yeah, that was about the classification based on special purpose. I hope with this we have completed your field crops and the classification. Tomorrow we will be covering the field management aspect along with the weed management part, which is a very small section. Again, we can easily cover that. But yeah, so this was regarding your this particular class. Now, if you have any doubt, any query, any questions regarding anything, you can please ask me. Okay, and I request you all to please go through the summary sheet today itself. Okay, climate basis का Manisha, see, from this particular topic, like special purpose crop, they can simply ask you, like in the examination, they have asked you regarding which of the following crop is grown for suppressing the weed. So there will be few options given: green crop, fodder crop, trap crop, smoother crop. So you should know smoother crop is the answer. Okay. Chalo, let me come to the slide of classification based on climate. Yeah. So this is the slide. What you have to ask, Avijit, please tell. See, Namrata, sometimes, farmer just, can, like, if your purpose is to just suppress the weed, okay? So, smoother crops are basically, it's not like you are growing any main crop and along with the main crop, you are growing smoother crop. Sometimes what can happen? when the field is fallow, like you are not growing any main crop on the field, so you can instead of just leaving the field exposed to the exposed for the soil losses and water losses, you can just use grow for smoother crops, ठीक है, so that जो weeds है वो भी suppress हो जाए, आपकी soil भी protect हो जाए. So it's not just कि आप main crop के साथ ही smoother crop को grow करोगे, but sometimes these smoother crops are also crops that can be utilized by the farmer. ठीक है, ऐसा हो सकता है कि main crop के साथ आपने smoother crop grow करी, मेन क्रॉप से आपको प्रोडक्शन मिला, बट स्मूदर क्रॉप भी या तो फॉडर क्रॉप हो सकती है जो लाइफ स्टॉक को फीड कर सकती है, या वो कोई पल्स क्रॉप हो सकती है. सो इट्स नॉट जस्ट कि इट विल कम्पीट, द पर्पस यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर. ओके, पर्पस क्या है किस पर्टिकुलर क्रॉप का, इसीलिए वो क्लासिफिकेशन बेस्ड ऑन द पर्पस है. पर्पस क्या है उस बेसिस में वो टर्मिनोलॉजी दी गई है. ठीक है. ओके, सो यहाँ पे आई थिंक यहाँ पे कंफ्यूजन है फ्रॉम दिस पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड कि सब ट्रॉपिकल क्रॉप में यहाँ लिखा गया है कि सब जीरो और फ्रीजिंग टेम्परेचर. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट स्टूडेंट्स की दे कैन विथस्टैंड द सब जीरो कंडीशन. इट्स बेसिकली मीन कि दे कैन टॉलरेट अ बिट ऑफ freezing temperature, also they can tolerate a bit of high temperature. It's not कि they will be they can withstand sub zero temperature or below zero temperature throughout their life cycle. To some extent, yes, they can withstand low temperature, but yes, we cannot completely say below zero degree Celsius. But to some extent, they can withstand this low temperature. Okay, for few days or for a certain a part of their life cycle. तो इसका मतलब ये है, इट्स नॉट स्पेसिफिकली कि वो कर ही सकते हैं कि लाइक दे कैन ग्रो वेल इन सब जीरो conditions. Okay. Ashu, no, there's no class for specifically for fodder material discussion, but yes, you will get class for the descriptive answer writing, wherein you will be getting to know ki how to write descriptive answer writing. Okay, how to do descriptive answer writing. Their fodder material will be helpful for you. It is subtropical, not subtemperate. Okay. Okay, while foliage crop or lay crop का difference. Foliage crop are specifically, in case of foliage crop, the objective is that you want crop to feed for the livestock. ठीक है. Lay crop is that you want to cover a land, you want to save the soil, you want to protect the soil, and you are growing grasses for that. And these grasses can be again used for feeding the livestock. Purpose is different. ठीक है. Foliage में your purpose is that you want a feed for livestock. But lay में your purpose is that you want to do the soil conservation. ठीक है. Okay, Simran, fouling crop. Fouling crop, Simran, see understand कि when you are doing any cultivation practice, like आप कोई ऐसी cultivation practice कर रहे हो जिस वजह से weed infestation बढ़ रहा है. Weed infestation क्या है कि number of unwanted plants in your field are increasing. That is the meaning of fouling crop. I have given you the example of direct seeded and transplanted rice. ठीक है, एक बार फिर से समझ लेते हैं. So in case of transplanted rice, what is happening here कि your field is filled with water. आपने transplanting के लिए क्या किया होता है, transplanting एक method है basically जहाँ पे your field is filled with water. ठीक है, there is a water in the field. And direct सीडिंग में क्या होता है, डायरेक्ट ब्रॉडकास्टिंग में आपने सिंपल सीड्स को ब्रॉडकास्ट कर दिया है फील्ड में, राइट. जब आपके फील्ड में वाटर है, राइट, व्हेन देयर इज अ वाटर प्रेजेंट इन योर फील्ड, राइस कैन grow well in this condition. But other crops, other plants, which are specifically your weed plants, they cannot grow in this condition because यहाँ पे water is filled in the field. So there will be anaerobic condition. Anaerobic condition means there will be no oxygen for other seeds to grow. ठीक है. For seed, see, for the germination, seed required oxygen, seed required proper aeration, proper moisture to grow. But here in this case, as field, as in the field, you have water standing. So due to that, the oxygen will be not, there will be no oxygen for the weed seed to grow. So that will lead to the suppression of weed growth. But in case of broadcasting, there is no such thing. This practice of growing rice, here weed seed will have enough access to irrigation and it can easily grow, right? So yes, this is the fouling crop and weed infestation. Type of question in phase 2, ma'am. Okay, देखो type of question in phase 2 are very different. Let me be very honest, from the past 1-2 years we have seen in phase 2. Okay, coming to, chalo, let's discuss about phase 2 a bit. In phase 2 there are 30 questions of objective, right? Out of which 15 will be from ARD and 15 will be from ESI, right? So out of this 15 question of ARD, there usually we have seen, earlier the weightage of ARD static used to be more, but from few years we have seen that stage weightage is 50-50%, like 6-7 question will be from ARD and 6-7 question from the current affair. But this year we have seen that only 2 to 3 or 4, hardly, I think 3, 4, 5 questions were there from ARD static, and rest 10 क्वेश्चन वर फ्रॉम द ARD करंट अफेयर. अब फेज 2 में कैसे क्वेश्चन आते हैं स्टूडेंट्स? देखो फेज 2 में क्वेश्चन ईदर कैन बी direct as like in your phase 1, like usually these questions are 1 marker question. Next, there can be a whole paragraph and you need to then answer questions which are related to that paragraph. But understand one thing, sometimes these direct question means there can be a question like which crop is used to grown, which crop is used to protect the other trespassing animals, so you can opt border crop as answer. But sometimes there can be application based question, ठीक like here they can ask you in case of fouling crops, ठीक है, why, like they can ask you in case of fouling crops weed infestation is reduced, so why this happen in case of rice? So you have to understand here, there can be a means reasoning based question can be there where you need to apply the concept. So such question can be there in your phase 2. Okay, ठीक है. See Ashu, for the paragraph based question I cannot suggest you ki how to prepare for that, but please understand paragraph based question are nothing very different from whatever you are reading for phase 1. It's just that depth can vary, like you are in your phase 1 they can directly ask you the fact, but in your phase 2 they can ask you a very in-depth question, or they can ask you the application based question. Like once there was a paragraph, okay I'll give you the example कि एक paragraph था rice cultivation पे, right? So उस paragraph से 2023 में ही ये question पूछा गया था phase 2 में, ठीक है? There was one question from this paragraph कि like a dash is the what we can say tillage operation done in rice. So answer for that was puddling. ठीक है, हम ये कल cover करेंगे what are the different tillage operations. So this is not something which is very difficult, right? We are anyway going to cover what are the different types of tillage, what is puddling, how it is done, and why it is done, right? So this is direct question asked from the puddling. But there was another question ki out of the following, what is the objective of puddling? ठीक है. Now objective of puddling is something that you have to think. ठीक है. If we are doing puddling in any field, so we might discuss it likewise कि like why we are doing this puddling this due to this way. Like in case of lay crops I have para crops I have told you कि हम क्यों करते हैं, ताकि हम जो मॉइस्चर है, जो न्यूट्रिएंट है सॉइल में, उसको हम यूटिलाइज कर सके, राइट? उसके लिए हम पेरा उटेरा क्रॉपिंग करते हैं, तो वो आपको सोचना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? दैट इज द एप्लीकेशन पार्ट, देयर यू हैव टू थिंक. बट आई कैन नॉट से कि फेज 2 के लिए स्पेसिफिकली आपको कुछ अलग पढ़ना है, यही पढ़ना है, बट हाँ थोड़ा डिटेल में आपको चीजें पता होनी चाहिए. अक्षय फॉर द स्पेशलिस्ट पोस्ट, अगर आप स्पेशलिस्ट पोस्ट के लिए कर रहे हो, सो इन योर फेज 2 पेपर 2 विल नॉट हैव एग्रीकल्चर, पेपर 2 विल हैव द सब्जेक्ट specific questions that you have opted. Like if you have opted for example you have gone for the IT specialist. If you are from the IT specialist, if you want to go for IT specialist, the questions will be there from the IT stream, not from agriculture or ESI. Clear? Okay, recorded lecture. Summary sheets are already uploaded in the course. Okay, RG. Regarding the recorded lecture, as the support team uploaded it, but by today it will be uploaded. Okay, by today it will be uploaded. I cannot tell you the time exactly, but yeah, before 2 to 3 p.m. it will be uploaded. Okay. Anything else anybody want to ask? Yes, yes. If you are from agriculture background, you are planning to go for agriculture specialist, then only agriculture question will be there. There will be no ESI questions in phase two. Okay. Anything else anybody want to ask? I also request all those who are watching from YouTube also can ask me the questions. Okay. Yesterday I forgot to take questions from YouTube comment section. Uh, please ask your questions. Okay. Uh, can you please write your questions again because I do not know कि जिन्होंने पहले क्वेश्चंस पूछे थे आर यू देयर इन द सेशन और नॉट. So, ठीक है, thank you everybody. Please send your feedbacks. Okay. I'm again writing the feedback email ID because the team wanted to know about these classes. So send your feedbacks at feedback@edutab.co.in. Okay. So I've shared the mail ID in the chat section. I hope the session was helpful. You were able to understand. Now I request you all to please go through the summary sheet and please send your feedbacks. I'll be glad to read your feedbacks, right? Okay. So I think there is Gaurav. Okay, Gaurav, I am going to answer your questions. So basically, I wanted to confirm that whether you are in the session or not. ठीक है. Gaurav, देखो, let's see your questions. फर्स्ट है इसके स्कोप ऑफ एग्रोनॉमी. देखो, एग्रोनॉमी का स्कोप क्या हो सकता है? लाइक वी आर ग्रोइंग, वी आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, वी आर नोइंग द crop production, how to do crop production. So ultimately we can help farmer, we can develop better technologies, and through these better technologies we can help farmers, we can develop varieties that can again help farmer increasing their yield. So yeah, these all are the scopes of agronomy. And coming to the next question, legumes, why the legume says meaning of legume is together. So I have told you that legume roots have the nodules, right? These all legume roots have the nodules that gather nitrogen, from atmosphere to the root nodules, and hence increase the nitrogen content in soil, right? So that's why the meaning of legume is to gather. Together is what it is gathering? It is gathering nitrogen from the atmosphere. ठीक है, to the roots. Okay. Then sugar cane is not annual. No, sugar cane is not an annual crop, right? It's not an annual crop. Um, uh, Okay, Gaurav, but we don't feedback because team will not. See, it's not like Gaurav, it's not like that, Gaurav. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है कि EduTap team won't connect with you. I have never seen that has happened. Please try to reach out us if you have any doubt, any query. Um, try to reach out to us, okay, if you have any doubt, any query, because it's not like if you want to connect with me, we are open for that as well, right? uh, Okay, see, coming to the sugarcane as annual or biennial crop. So, see, Gaurav, coming to the sugarcane is 16 months to 18 months duration crop. Okay, so how can it be an annual crop? Anything else you want to ask, Gaurav? So, okay, I'll just recheck, okay, my all slides if you say so, and I'll confirm it to you. Anything else you want to ask? Okay, now I don't think there is any query. So thank you guys. Okay, there's are some questions here also. Namrata, yes, you are able to download the summary sheet. आप download कर सकते हो summary sheet को, and yes, you can highlight things from there, and you can also take out the printout from there. But you are most welcome, Gaurav. Okay. If you have any doubt, any query, you can connect with us. We have no issues with that. Our team surely supports you, connects you. Anybody, be you are our course students or you are from you are not in our enrolled in our course. Every time we are there to help you. I would suggest you to please mail us at hello@edutab.co.in. ठीक है, just mail us once. What is your query, what is your question, what is there your what is thing that you want the help with, ठीक है, किस चीज में आपको help चाहिए, just एक बार mail कीजिए. We are always there to help you, right? Then okay, that's all. Thank you so much. Okay guys, so we'll meet in tomorrow's class. So there will be covering the rest part of this particular chapter. Okay, thank you, thank you so much. See, Gaurav, I don't know what is your concern, but it cannot be the case that you have mailed and got no feedback or no response from the team. Uh, you have to mail at hello@edutab. ठीक है, अगर आपको कोर्स से रिलेटेड कंसर्न है, hello@edutab पे करो. फीडबैक देना है तो feedback@edutab पे दो. क्लियर? चलो. I hope I was able to answer your query, Gaurav. आपको कोई भी और प्रॉब्लम है, देखो, if you want to connect ना, you can ask for strategy call also. We can have one-on-one conversation also if you have any doubt, any issues. ठीक है. Rest, I wish you all the best. ठीक है, I wish you all the best for your preparation. I hope you get the help that you want, and all your doubt and everything is resolved. And one day you come out as a NABARD Grade A officer. Right? All the best for you. So that's all. Thank you, everybody. I'll end. Gaurav, if there is anything you want to say, you can please. Otherwise, I'll end the session. Okay, so I don't think there is any query. If there is any query